Hello everyone, and welcome to Straight Chilling. Each week we watch and review a horror film for your entertainment. You can send all questions and comments to straightchillingpodcast@gmail.com, and don't forget to keep chilling.
Yeah, we straight chillin', serial killing. 5 cold feelings on the mind, got you reeling. 5-star ratings from the floor to the ceiling. If you get your 1 star, no time for feelings. Got a demon DJ, all the 1s and 2s. By the name Elsevier, so don't get confused. So grab a seat by the fire, roast them all in 2. And prepare to hear the legend of the Straight Chillin' crew.
What up, nerds, and welcome to another nightmarish episode of Straight Chilling, the weekly horror movie review show where you chill and we kill, slice, dice, and chop up yet another horror movie. My name is Bob. I'll be your host for the evening. This is episode number 288, recorded on Sunday, October 11th, 2020. Tonight, we're going to be discussing the winner of the October poll pick, which was 1984's A Nightmare on Elm Street. Before we get into it, let me introduce everyone else on the show. First up, calling in from Phoenix, Arizona, for the last time, Randy Gandy G. Landy.
Hello, gentlemen.
That's right, everyone. Here's my full schedule so that you can know everything there is to know about my private life.
Hey, everybody knows you be moving, and so
I be moving.
It's not news. It's not news. I didn't put you on blast like that. I didn't tell them exactly where you're moving to yet.
Thank you for telling me how on blast you put me.
You're welcome. I just want you to be informed.
God bless.
Moderately blasted. Last but not least, calling in from the Southern Korea, we got our boy Soju. What's up, man?
1, 2, it's your boy Soju. 3, 4, give them yabos half more. 5, 6, Bob's a big old bed. What up?
Oh, sorry. Sorry to everyone with children for having to hear that.
I thought you were going to keep going. You gave up.
You didn't. You gave up. You didn't.
All the way to 10, huh, boy?
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to do it, do it.
I mean, come on. They didn't stop at 8 for Friday. What's wrong with juice? What's wrong with soju? Can't make it to 10. That's what they say. All the ladies say
more
so.
Exclusive.
That's what they say. That is what they say. All right, before we get into the main event, let's tackle some housekeeping really quickly. Over on our Patreon website, we have our November poll pick posted. If you support us at the $5 level or above, you get the chance to vote on a movie we're talking about this November. The theme for November is 90s Universal monster movies, and the 3 movies to vote between are Bram Stoker's Dracula, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, and Wolf.
Bob, how are those numbers looking so far?
Mr. Stroker is in the lead.
Stroker's taking it.
Yep. Wolf is in second place, and Mary Shelley's Frankenstein is way back on in last
Stroker,
place.
Wolfman,
yep,
and the Frankenstein.
Yeah, it looks like we're probably
I'll be stroking.
We're gonna be stroking. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, it sounds like
we all be stroking.
We be stroking. We all stroke down here. Am I right?
Welcome to Stroke Chillin'.
Damn.
Also, in new Patreon news, we have a brand new Patreon supporter. We got to give some shouts outs to.
Whoa.
That was our shout out. No, I'm just kidding.
Big thanks to Demira for signing up and supporting us on Patreon. We definitely appreciate it. Every dollar you guys contribute goes right back into the show. And as is tradition around these parts, we owe you the Straight Chilling salute. This one goes out to Demira.
Thank you so much.
God
Slap
bless.
Me in the ass.
Please slap us all inside of our asses.
Get inside of them and then slap them. That's what you got to do.
I demand rosy pink interior to the anal.
Oh my God! Woo! We're all right.
I was complaining about being too personal earlier.
You were.
You remember that?
And here we are. The last bit of Patreon news we have. We dropped another mini cast, which if you support us over on Patreon at the $10 level or above, one of the many cool perks that you get is you get access to exclusive Patreon content. We've got a whole host of mini casts up there. We've got close to like 25 now, I think.
Whoa, my lord.
The most recent one I dropped is on a movie called The Deeper You Dig, which was recently put out by Arrow Video on Blu-ray. It's on VOD, and it's also on Shudder. So if you have Shudder, you can find it pretty easily. So if you want to hear my thoughts on that, check it out over on Patreon.
That's about 50% more content from the old Straight Chilling crew than you would normally get for free 50.
That's right.
Wow, what a deal.
What a deal. Also, if you do sign up on Patreon, all of those bonus episodes are going to be in your podcatcher of choice. So you don't have to listen to them only on Patreon. So
This word podcatcher catches me every time. I'm always kind of taken aback by it.
You're podcaught. Podcaught.
I'm caught up on this bullshit.
That is all we got on Patreon. Juice, do you have anything going on?
I don't think I do. Nope. House is clean.
Right. Randy, I'm not going to skip over you this time. Do you have anything you got to mention?
Oh God, no.
Last thing.
Oh God, yes, come with me.
Oh God, yes. Come with me. Last thing I got to mention, there's a new episode of Let's Get Physical Media, in which we talk about Blu-rays, 4Ks, DVDs, all that stuff. Episode number 13 dropped. We talk about our September pickups. If you are interested in collecting physical media, specifically horror-related physical media, check out Let's Get Physical Media everywhere you get your podcasts.
I heard through the grapevine you had to cut that episode pretty short since you were lacking baby blues last month. Is that correct, Bob?
That would be incorrect. Somebody lied. Somebody lied.
Bob, this time last year is when you were starting to hit your bloodbath right around the old Halloween season.
That's very true.
Do you think you're on par, Rob, last year? You think you're topping it? What do you think?
No, I think I'm behind last year. Well, specifically last year, I went to Spooky Empire in Tampa, and also Tampa has a really, really great shop. It's called Grindhouse Video, and they sell all the cool shit that I like to collect. So we went to Spooky Empire and bought stuff there, and then we went to Grindhouse as well and bought a shitload of stuff at Grindhouse. So I didn't do that this year because everything's canceled because of the pandemic and whatnot. So I'm definitely trailing last year for sure.
All right.
So,
well, maybe we saved the life.
Be able to put a down payment on that jet ski finally.
Maybe. Dude, it might be coming around. You never know.
I'll believe it when I see it, man. You can't handle the ski. You just can't handle it.
You might be right. But we
need a jet ski for Christmas, Bob. That's what we need.
We might get one.
Yeah.
All right. I'll keep it in the back of my mind.
Don't tease, Bish.
Sorry. All right. I think this house is officially capped. Let's go ahead and drop that spoiler warning. Sorry, drop in the back of the box. Let's do it.
What's on the back of the box?
Bob, I hope to God you have this box.
Of course I do.
How many copies of this box do you have?
Just one. Just the one.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought you'd have like 3 sets, 4 formats.
Well, this box, he's only got one, but there's variations to the box.
Yeah. This is just one box out of a line of several.
I don't know what you're talking about. This, talking about Nightmare on Elm Street from 1984, was written and directed by Wes Craven, stars Heather Langenkamp, Johnny Depp, Robert Englund, and some other folks. Plot synopsis is as follows. The monstrous spirit of a slain child murderer seeks revenge by invading the dreams of teenagers whose parents were responsible for his untimely death. Gentlemen.
Oh, interesting. European style.
European style.
Is that what it is?
I guess. Silly question. Have you seen this movie before, and would you recommend people check it out? Randy?
I have viewed this film, and I would recommend that you watch this film. There you go.
Thank you.
That's why that's why you pay me nothing.
Righto. Juice, what about you?
I had seen this before. It's been 6+ years on this podcast, and we have yet to cover it, so I am excited to be covering it now. I would recommend you check it out, all you youngins out there who haven't seen The Nightmare on Elm Street. Get to it.
I'm assuming it's just the fetuses that haven't seen it because everyone else has seen this, right? Like,
I don't know. Everybody's got to watch it for their first time sometime, Randy. So,
true.
You know?
Yeah, it's usually in utero, I thought.
This is what mothers play against their womb.
Yeah,
you know,
they used to be like Bach and Beethoven, but now it's for Nightmare on Elm Street. That's just postmodernism, baby. That's how it looks.
You got that?
Bob,
yo,
have you seen The Nightmare on Elm Street before?
Yes, I absolutely have. And unsurprisingly, I would recommend it for sure.
All right.
Check it out. It's a classic. All right. Now we're going to drop that spoiler warning and get into the rest of the movie. Here we go.
Spoiler warning.
All right. Let's do this thing.
So going down from the classics, I just wanted to... So we have covered Halloween. We have covered Hellraiser.
Yeah.
Saw Massacre. Just here for last time.
Right. The Lodge.
Have we? We have not done Friday the 13th.
No, we haven't.
I don't think we've done Friday the 13th.
We got the big two here. We're about to knock out one of them.
And we have not done Psycho as far as like classics that come to my mind. We have not done The Exorcist. That's one we haven't done.
We're going to spend this whole episode not actually talking about this movie, but talking about how proud we are to be talking about this movie.
We're finally doing it.
Isn't it great how we've been talking about this movie for an hour?
But yeah, let's do it. Let's talk about this classic. I didn't type up a proper synopsis on this because I just honestly forgot.
Bob, the eggshell cardstock.
I know, right? But the movie, real briefly, the movie opens up with this crazy looking guy and he's making a claw for his hand and it's super spooky and sharp and dangerous looking.
Oh my god, it's like having a substitute teacher trying to describe this movie.
Really spooky, kids.
He's like a really spooky guy, and he's got himself a glove. Put some butter knives on that bitch. Oh, sorry, kids. Sorry, I was out drinking a lot last night. Sorry, I have a whole character for some reason.
Apparently, man.
Developed in under 12
All
seconds.
of a sudden, we're in New York.
Well,
I have all substitute teachers are outsourced from New York, aren't they?
I believe so. All these kids living in the same hood start having dreams about this creepy guy with a burned face and a red and green striped sweater and this like super sharp claw on his hand wearing a goofy hat, and he's sort of terrorizing them in their dreams. They start telling their parents about it. The parents are like kind of shrugging it off, just tell them that they're tired, they need sleep, whatever. Throughout the course of the film, come to find out that this guy they're dreaming about did exist in real life. And he was a child killer. He killed like 20 some odd kids and was caught. And I guess he got off on some sort of technicality. He ended up not going to jail for his crimes. So the parents banded together. They chased him down into his little boiler room and they lit him on fire, killing him. So his evil spirit's coming back and haunting their kids in their dreams to get revenge. That's kind of what we're dealing with.
It's so crazy because I've always just associated him as a child molester. But I even after watching it, I watched it this time and then I went back to a couple key scenes because I wanted to refresh my mind, like right before we talked about it. And she was like, he was a child murderer. And I was like, oh shit. They never actually say he's a child molester.
Well, in fairness, my true crime brain is firing off right now because you rarely have one without the other. So.
Well, yeah, I know. It's just weird. Like I've always just associated that. And there's a couple things in here where he like gets real creepy with it. And also anytime like people are singing that song, it's like those little girls. And so that's kind of weird association, I guess. But, I don't. Yeah, I thought it was interesting that it was specifically said like child murderer. I was like, oh, okay.
It is sort of, I guess, kind of loosely hinted at, but I think a little bit of trivia, if you don't mind. I think Craven.
Give it to me.
Craven sort of like wrote it as him being a molester / killer, but he shied away from it because there was some legit, like, I guess, terrible molestation operation that came to around the time of the filming of this movie. So he didn't want that going
84? Would that have been Satanic Panic related? I wonder.
Yeah,
No,
I'd say
it
so.
was there was a
one?
preschool in like LA where there was like a shit going down while they were filming this. So it's kind of
Are
like
you sure though? Because there was a case of that wound up not being entirely true.
Really?
Oh, really? No, I'm not 100% on that.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to brush up on that. But there is some Satanic Panic shit where like preschools in particular were like under extreme scrutiny around this time for exactly that.
True or false, I could see Craven not wanting it in his movie. Either way, just because it's on
It was a
people's
marriage
brains.
to the beast.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not, it's still a sound decision on his part, and it doesn't really take away anything, I don't think. But
I don't think so
No.
either, for sure. Yeah, I don't know. Let's get into some of
Especially,
this.
I guess because you're dealing with these teens too, it makes more sense. Sorry, just going back to the child molester thing.
Yeah.
That was one thing. Even that was like a little confusing in my mind going into this movie, thinking it was a child molester. Because I was like, yeah, it's like older teens, and like they keep flashing to these like younger girls who are like singing a song. I think that's the association that's like not clicking in my brain, and so it does at least. Well, I mean, no. I mean, it makes it better, I guess, that it is child murder because it's dealing with these like teenagers, and then later it kind of carries on like with Nancy for a little bit. And, she becomes an adult, she's not a teenager anymore. So, I don't know.
Well, I think the reason for that, Rob, did you have something to say?
I was just going to say he does at a certain point say like, I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy. And he gets kind of
and the tongue.
He also does a whole glove between the legs moment, of course. I mean, I think that makes sense regardless, though, because the time in which he was killed was when she would have been a child and her parents would have been protecting her as a child.
That's true.
By killing him.
True. That's
true. That's how I associated that. Like, I mean, I wasn't thinking, but just either way, whether it's molestation or not, I mean, that would have been the time period where she was a child.
That's true.
And this is revenge on the people that killed him, at least in this first one. So, and that would be the parents who now have almost adult kids. So yeah, I don't know. Like, what do we even say about this fucking movie? This is the problem with classics: is it's really tough to get going a conversation about it, being critical of it.
Well,
in any real way.
I don't know. I think it's actually I was a little critical this time, and I think it's just this year because I also watched Halloween 2 recently, like last week. For the spooky season, I was like a little kind of critical on that. I don't know, these classics this year. I seem to be, I don't know, inspecting with a closer eye. I guess because I've seen them so many times, so I'm watching them for the spooky season. And I'm like, okay, like what's really going on here?
I do have some issues with this movie when it gets towards the end of it. I don't know that I share that sentiment with Halloween 2 specifically, but we can get into some of that regarding this film because it's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Well, should we go beat by beat, or do you want to jump to it?
Yeah, maybe we should arrive to it. Like don't jump.
Sure.
All right. So this movie, we got Heather Langenkamp as oh god, I'm blanking. Nancy. Nancy, whatever her last name is, and her boyfriend Johnny Depp, who will not be called anything but Johnny Depp because that's the way it's going to work.
Glenn,
and then you've Glenn.
Yeah. We've got Saxton as her dad, her estranged dad, it seems like, or at least divorced dad.
Yeah.
Or separated.
I mean,
her mother
there. Yeah.
He's not living with them though, so there's some sort of qualm there. And then Tina, who we lose pretty early in the film. Yeah. And her boyfriend
Rod,
Bulk and or Skull, whatever his name is.
Rod. Potential Cooter contender. I don't know. We'll get
I mean, he's got the prototypical shitty 80s greaser aesthetic going.
The 80s greaser.
Yeah, it's the throwback greaser that's you really got to look out
the
for.
The wannabe greaser. Oh,
you ain't looking at Grease here. You're looking at the kids who watched Grease and then decide to go out and molest people.
He has a perm as well. It's like it's a cross. That's how you know it's the 80s. It's like you got the greaser look, but they got the perm kicking as well. The Jerry curl.
Wow.
I don't know if he had Jerry curl. That might be a little an overstatement, but yeah.
That is, it's a little too.
But so we got these are our principal cast members, right? So
yeah, and of course, Kruger.
And it actually starts with Tina, even though like Nancy is our, a
little bit of a Drew Barrymore thing going.
Yeah, a little bit, because you follow Tina, and she's even the one who she's survives her first dream. I like the first dream setup. So it's got this. She's going through this hallway. It's got a sturdy field. There's a goat or a sheep at one point that kind of is crossing her and bang. It doesn't make any sense. I like that it doesn't make sense, because you don't know it's a dream at first if it's the first time you're seeing this. But and she makes her way into the boiler room, and Freddy comes out and claws her, and when she wakes up, her dresses or her nightgown is torn in the same shape as his claws or whatever. And I like the way this is played. One thing I picked up this time around was the sound, and I feel like this style of sound that is used in this film, like this style of spooky sounds, were almost kind of lifted and used a lot in kids horror in the 90s. Like the types of sounds they use, it really, going back, it reminded me of some Are You Afraid of the Dark style of stuff where oh, you're wandering through this circus or whatever. I don't know. They're just they're sounds that I don't associate anymore as really dark and spooky. In my mind, they have more of a playful, kiddish, spooky vibe. I don't know. That's
interesting. I still like this, the soundtrack on this, really, to the score, the main score is still so powerful to me, and not necessarily for being scary, but for being such a great tone setter, because you're right. It is sort of of all the slashers that you have of this time period, this is a great theme specifically for him, because to me, it's more big top, exactly like you said. It's more circusy. And that's the whole beauty of this particular franchise, is its flexibility and being able to do completely bananas off the wall shit whenever it wants to, whenever it has the budget to, basically. Yeah. And that's the reason I think he's one of the coolest, probably the coolest of the major slasher icons in my world. So, I mean, he gets a lot of, he doesn't have the same it doesn't have the same foreboding as say the Halloween theme, but it is synthy, and it's got a little bit of funk to it, just a smidge. And I think that works for Freddy specifically. I think that I think this score kind of knew his tone before the film series did, almost, it kind of had a better feel for, it set him up to be. It was a perfect thing for what he would become in later entries, is what I'm trying to get at. Yeah. It's got sort of a kiddish feel to it in some parts as well, which makes sense, because he himself is supposed to be a child murderer. So it's a music box theme. Lullaby feel. Yeah. It's perfect for him, really. I'm sure that was part of the discussion at some point. Yeah, for sure. One thing I noticed on a rewatch of this that I had kind of forgotten is just how brutal the kill sequences are. Tina is sort of the first one that we come to, and it is horrific, truly horrific. I think it still holds up to this day too. Yeah. Definitely. Her being clawed to death in her bed, and then you see her sort of slide up the wall and then onto the ceiling, and she's just screaming bloody murder the whole time, and then she eventually falls onto the bed. And Rod is watching, just absolutely horrified as the whole thing is happening. He doesn't know what to do to help her out, and of course he's then later arrested because he's under the suspicion of murdering his girlfriend.
We're going to get arrested.
And he definitely does. But that first scene, just that first kill, floors you. I would imagine in 1984 you hadn't really seen a whole lot of shit quite like that. And they built this whole spinning room, this whole apparatus to make that happen that they also used later in Johnny Depp's kill scene. Yeah. I don't think that's the only movie. This is the first movie to do that, but this is like the one that I think of when I think of this effect. You know what I mean? It's perfect for dreamlike situations. Yeah.
And she also she sells it well. Now the Rod doesn't as much, but her screams, they sound like terror. When she's being dragged up the wall and then she's on the ceiling and the freaking blood leaves the streak mark. It is brutal as fuck. Rod's Tina. But she fucking sells that shit. I mean, that was like the best acting she did in this movie, I feel like. And actually, one thing I do like about this movie, talking about the acting, is I like the dynamic between these. They're not the best actors and actresses, but just watching like Halloween, where it's like the totally girl or whatever, the dynamic and the lines between these guys feel at least like they feel like almost real teens, at least like from an 80s perspective. And it just like comes off smoother, I guess, than like what.
Well, it does seem more in line with reality.
You gotta leave PJ Souls alone, Juice. You can't.
I love the totally girl, but it doesn't feel realistic. That feels like a bit, and to that end, you're totally right, totally. And I think like more than that, like I don't know, I had a little bit of like skeeved out feeling, specifically from Hot Rod, about his where like he shows up at Tina's house when they're staying the night to keep her company from her nightmares. And he like pulls a switchblade on Glenn, and Glenn's just like, oh, like fucking doesn't give a shit. And then he like drags her upstairs, and Tina's like, hey, you guys don't leave, right? Because there's a psycho here. And it's like, I don't know, man. Maybe it was just a different time, but I'm like, you guys should tell that guy to leave.
It's weird.
If
she's definitely like into him, but she does say like, please don't leave me. It's like
she literally seems I don't know if she is super into him, because it's like almost like she's pressured into it, because at no point does she show express interest in him. She's just coerced at every turn.
Maybe
even the intro scene, he's like giving them shit or whatever, and they have to like treat it. He's acting like a bully piece of shit, and they treat him back like he's being a bully piece of shit, and that's it. And like
he's familiar with them. Like he comes up, he like touches her. She doesn't. But he also
pulls a switchblade. Like if any of my friends.
No. I'm not saying like, but I'm just. I didn't get the coercion as much. Like she says it, but even when they're like laying in bed together, like they're comfortable together.
You're right. Like
it's not like this is the first time it's happened, like the first time they've had sex together. That's not the impression
either. But I just felt and this is definitely arguable, definitely debatable. But in my mind, it was kind of like, I don't know, man. It's almost like she's just like having sex with this dude because he's asking a lot, like, and that's not good.
And it could be because they set it up to where that's her mother's situation. Actually, I mean, that's like a good call, probably because of the scene when she first wakes up from her first dream. Her mom comes in to like console her, and like her mom's just staying with some like skeevy boyfriend who kind of does the same thing. Like she's trying to talk to her daughter, and the dude's just like, get your like ass back in bed or whatever. And then her mom, fucking the parents in this movie are the worst, except for Glenn's parents. They're okay, I guess, but old Johnny D. But her mom is like, Tina, you either got to cut your fingernails or stop that kind of dreaming. That's all you can do. It's like, well, bitch, like if I can fucking stop dreaming where I'm going to cut myself, I'd fucking do it.
Yeah, this wasn't intentional, right?
Yeah.
Also, before Tina's death, there's a couple like pretty iconic sequences that happen with Freddy, where he's kind of like watching Heather Langenkamp sleep, where he kind of pushes his face and his hands through the wall, and it kind of stretches.
Such a great effect, even now.
Great.
And there's also like the big long arm sequence where he's sort of like walking towards Tina in the alleyway, which
I really.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, I like that scene, but I really like what happens. I think it's right after that. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm mixing it up. But in that same alleyway, you see her like turning away to run from him, and he's like running at her, but he runs like kind of like he's spinning some turntables while he's running, and he's like doing this weird thing, and then she like shows up, and real Freddy is standing like right behind her or some shit. And I just thought the way he was running was like,
I agree. It is that actually I actually don't like that sequence because I think the face and the hands coming out through the wall is great, and then then, of course, once Tina is like dragged up the wall and the blood and everything, that's great. And then even in the very next dream sequence that we get, which is then Nancy, because Tina is killed, where she's going through the school and she's like wrapped in kind of like plastic and
a body bag, I think.
That's great.
Yeah.
And very dark.
Yeah.
And one of the things is this movie doesn't seem to stay in the same lane. It is the arms thing looks goofy.
Yeah.
And it looks goofy, especially because you know that they can pull off some really cool looking, dark, creepy shit. So when it's just like these springy looking arms, like I get the idea is for him to scrape his fingernails, but it doesn't match the tone to me. Like there's a disconnect, and I've always felt like get pulled out. And you're right. And then when he's running, because he's not a big dude, so like he doesn't have that stature of like a Jason or a Michael Myers, where he's gonna stalk you. So he looks small and goofy, and his arm flailing followed by just these long stretchy arms out. I actually don't like that sequence very much.
What about, so in that same sequence,
that's what I imagine him sounding like when he's running.
In that same sequence, he cuts off a couple of his fingers with his glove and just like it
I like
spurts
that.
green blood. Yeah. And then
That
also
is entirely sold by his face. Though.
It is.
Robert Englund nails it. He's like, hey, check this out. Whoa, weird, right? Like it's fucking.
He also like rolls around with Tina. They like kind of wrestle, and she grabs his face and like pulls the flesh off his face, and it's just a skull.
I like that. Yeah.
You know, when you list them up back to back like that, it does seem like that's the weakest link of the bunch.
There's some cool shit and some goofy shit, but it's like back and forth. It's weird. Yeah, I don't know if they just didn't stick the landing on all of them. They probably should have cut some of it, but
that's so interesting though, because that is kind of like, I would say except for maybe the glove coming up from the bathtub, that's probably like the most iconic like visual that I can think of from this movie.
Yeah, it is. And that's kind of it, because we get the opening sequence where we see him like a scotch, you know, and that's our introduction to him. But this is him like kind of coming full bag, you know, like they've started to discuss him, the idea, and we get a lot of time with the teens. And then this is how he's kind of reintroduced, and it feels off to me. It always does. It always pulls me out. And it's always kind of weird. I do like the face, like pulling off sequence with the skull and all of that. And of course, like when she's dragged up the wall. So it is really just like a missed couple of scenes for me, or like just a moment. I don't know.
Still is still like, that's a success rate that's hard to beat at that point in the game. I would say like that for the amount of effects driven shots they're doing that we just listed, just the ones we listed.
Yeah.
Like there's only really those two that are kind of clunky.
He also, in that sequence, says the first like line that we ever hear Freddy Krueger say. You know, Tina is dreaming and she's out in the alleyway, and she says she sees Freddy Krueger and she's scared, and she says something like, you know, oh my God. And he just like holds up his glove and says, "This is God." And that's like a great first line for him, I think.
Spot on. That's pretty Freddy impression.
Hey, thanks, man. That's what I'm here for. I'm here for the voices. Everybody knows it. I thought that was just a cool like first line for him to drop. Yeah. And of course later in the movies he's saying shit like, "I love soul food."
Yeah, not this movie, but yes.
Yeah. So yeah, that's sort of the Freddy introduction. We then sort of get into the rest of the plot, and these kids are talking about how they're all having the same dreams, basically. They're all having the same nightmares about this fucked up guy, and they don't know what the deal is. Lieutenant Thompson's on the case. He ends up arresting Rod and using his daughter as bait, essentially, because he knows Rod's like her friend, and he's probably going to try and like contact her. So he just follows his daughter on the way to school and then arrests Rod. Yeah.
That's actually like, I really like that they, like the decision to make John Saxton, her father, also the police chief or whatever. I think that's really smart, because the whole of this, like the whole crux of this story is centered around a parent's relationship with their kids and vice versa, in terms of like, you know, what you can trust from your parents. Like what are they protecting you from that you actually need to know? You know, that's sort of like dynamic. And he's like, being a cop, a detective, like he is thinking with cop brain. He's thinking like, let's solve the crime. He's putting that even before like his relationship with his daughter. And I just think it works to have him involved, like have both of her mom's involved at home, he's involved outside of the home with these things that are going on. Neither of them are listening to her or believing her. Mm-hmm. I think that's so important, and it gives him a really good excuse to do that, despite not, so that there's always that pressure from all points of the story. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And that is part of what makes, I like the decision too. And it's because it like makes sense, like, because even so the teens are like, well, mostly just Nancy towards the end, but she's like, I'm dreaming this, and they even go to a dream clinic and stuff like that. And even from like a parent's perspective, even if you were like, okay, we kill Freddy, like, what are you gonna do? Yeah. Like, okay,
yeah,
that
you believe
sucks.
it, what do you do? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. The most you can do is like believe it.
Like fight the logic, but it's good too because it makes Nancy. She's always been like kind of like one of my favorite like final girls because she actually has to do something, like actively do something,
and she does. Like the thing is, she doesn't even like. It's not a last minute decision either. She's plotting.
Yeah, everyone fails Nancy several times. Even like her parents,
Johnny Depp
fail her, and she even like she's like, Dad, all you have to do is show up at the right time. Just show up. And he's like, okay, I'll do it. He fails her fucking boyfriend twice. She's like, Glenn, all you have to do is stay the fuck awake and then shake me if I'm like getting attacked. He fucking does. So I mean, she like carries this fucking team on her back the whole goddamn way. Man.
Yeah, she's like the ultimate badass. It really is true. Like she's very reactionary at first, but then she like it's the perfect final girl arc, really. Yeah. She's experiencing something that nobody else is really understanding, at least not the people that survive. And she's unable to convince anybody to come to her side, nor can she depend on anybody else. So she plots and schemes her way to victory. That's pretty fucking powerful, or debatable victory. I guess we'll get to that later. But
for sure.
So what happens next? Like I think that Tina's killed. The entire Tina sequence, to me, everything that happens with Tina in the movie, I think is the best part of this movie. Like in terms of like moments,
After that, we get a sequence where Nancy is in school and she's sitting in a lecture. Lin Shaye is the teacher. We get a little dash of Lin Shaye in here, which is kind of cool. Nancy falls asleep in the middle of her class, and then she has this nightmare about seeing Tina in a bloody body bag and being like dragged down the hallway, and it's super horrific, super haunting. Probably probably my favorite sequence of the movie. And then we see, which again, to your point, Juice, is kind of goofy and like it sends like mixed signals as far as the tone of the movie, but we see like a hall monitor who's got the red and green striped sweater on, and it's like a chick and like it's got Freddy's voice, and it's like it's like goofy. It's not really scary. It's just bizarre. It's a bizarre choice, I think.
I think that works though, and the reason is because this is Dreamland. You know what I mean? Like, there's a sort of a differentiation between that and like the things that are intentionally scary and the things that seem intentionally weird. I can get behind the intentionally weird because they sort of feed into the scary later on. But if the scary part itself is goofy, then that's a failure.
I agree. This part doesn't bother me either. Not like the other part does, because I think Nancy sells it a little bit too, because she goes on unfazed. So like what's going on. She's like, screw you. She's not like, oh my God, you're wearing Freddy's glove, or oh my God. Like, so you it kind of gives you her state of mind too, where like, because to us it looks normal. Oh, she's walking through a hallway. Yeah, there's like leaves and stuff rustling around, but it gives like, I guess, a little bit of context of like, yeah, she's kind of in control, but she's not able to recognize a hall monitor as Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, she's still like honing that ability to like to lucid dream, basically.
So it doesn't bother me, but I could easily see where it was, because it is another one of those moments where it is kind of like, what? This is kind of good. It almost feels like something geared towards kids horror. So kids could pick up on things like, oh, see, it's Freddy Krueger. She's blatantly wearing like a red and green sweater. Like it's so like in your face that's the feeling it gives to me.
I also I mean, to its credit though, like I think this is like they were still establishing that as an icon of Freddy. So like at this point in the movie and this point in the franchise, which didn't exist at this point, I think it's arguable that like it wasn't the worst decision in the world because you're starting that as a symbol of this character instead of just a costume choice for him. So like this is the first instance of him being removed from the character himself, as far as we know.
And it's properly lit too. Whereas before he's kind of been in the shadows a little bit. It's definitely, it was a darker scene in the boiler room when we first see him. And then again, when he's chasing Tina, it's supposed to be nighttime. So this is the first time where that is like very clearly lit.
And clean, so if I remember right. It's also not like filthy and run down. Like it's I think it was maybe more subtle before the iconic nature of the character was established later on.
Yeah, maybe so. And also, it just reminds me of that sequence in Scream where Wes Craven is the janitor and he's got the sweater on in the hallway. He's like mopping up. It reminds me of that. But in this same nightmare sequence, Nancy, we kind of like learn how the shit works in the dreams. Like Nancy's becoming more aware. So like as she's going down the hallway, she ends up in the boiler room, and Freddy like cuts his chest, and like green ooze and maggots come out, and it's real fucked up. And he's
just like, check this out.
Right.
He has this weird like jackass quality to him.
He kind of does.
Where he's like Johnny Knoxville in his ass all over town with maggots falling.
Dude,
that's just horror Johnny Knoxville. That is Fred Krueger.
Yeah, I want to see Johnny Krueger in the next Nightmare reboot. That's what I want to see.
I will watch the fuck out of Johnny Knoxville as Freddy Krueger Jr. or some shit.
I want to see Krueger sitting in a porta potty filled with shit get launched into the fucking air. That's what I want to see.
Oh, bitch! See that scene where he cuts himself? I like the one where he cuts his fingers off too.
Yeah.
But this one, I think, creates more of that association of him as a child molester, because like his nipples like hanging out, and it's just like really gross,
shameful.
And it like, well, like the way he like touches himself, it is like, and he's in
because of the implication.
Room, it is a lot skeevier feeling than just cutting off your fingers.
Yeah,
you know,
that's
like
an argument you can make for sure.
Yeah,
but like, no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I like in this sequence where he's essentially about to kill Nancy, and she has the idea to like put her arm on a really hot pipe and burn her arm to like wake her up. Mm-hmm. So we see that you can kind of get out of the dream if you're aware that you're dreaming. You can do things to take yourself out of it and help protect yourself. And her arm is really burnt when she wakes up. So we're sort of like learning more about how this whole like dream / reality
and it's still
thing
like
works.
Pretty flexible, because like obviously when Freddy hurts you, that doesn't wake you up. Like that's part of the whole deal.
True.
So like the idea that you hurting yourself within the dream, which hurts you physically in the real world, that can wake you up, just so long as it's not sourced from Freddy. I guess that's the rule. But I think it's kind of like flexible. Like the rules of the Freddy rules, the Elm Street rules really go through some hell over the years.
Yeah, they do. Starting in this one, which we will definitely talk about. So she hauls ass to see Rod, who is now in jail. And she's just trying to get more information about him, about like what happened to Tina. And she's like, what did you see? And he's describing how like she was cut with like 4 blades at once. And that's when she really knows for sure that like, okay, Fred Krueger, the guy that I'm dreaming about, definitely killed my friend Tina for sure. So I need to like not fucking sleep ever again. And she like goes for a full week without sleeping, which would drive me, dude, I'd be fucking dead. I sleep.
Yeah, I think
all the time.
I don't think you could.
I don't know how. Yeah, you would be at the like any one of us, any person, pretty much is going to be insanely irritable if nothing else. Just to the point of nonsense and just breaking down, crying for no reason or some shit. Like that's it's not just like dogged determination that keeps you up. You'd have to be pretty fucking, especially if you're like downing the coffee and sleep away pills and shit. Like,
I love that she's got the little like hidden coffee maker under her bed. Like,
dude, and it's running.
Yeah, you wouldn't hear or smell that at all, Mom.
Way to go. She's a terrible warden.
Her mom is just fucking drunk as shit this whole movie, though. So
she acts like it.
She reminded me of Bob a little bit, because she's got booze hidden all over the house. Like Bob's got his blues, hidden, stored away for an easy escape.
I have
so
my
she
movies.
Pulls the vodka. she pulls the vodka out of like the linen closet or whatever, you know, like Bob when he's gonna, you know, just checking on his blues real quick.
The emergency Blu-ray stash hidden in the linen closet.
How many blues are in your bug out bag, Rob?
Just the Halloween box set. That's all.
Oh,
just
wow.
The essentials.
Yeah, the essentials.
Right. Mm-hmm. So the next sort of, I guess, main sequence we got to talk about. Nancy ends up falling asleep in the bathtub, which is where the like really iconic claw sequence comes into play, where like his hand reaches up in between her legs, and it's super creepy. And her mom knocks on the door, wakes her up, and then she falls asleep again in the bathtub, and ends up like sort of drowning in the tub. It's a cool like underwater.
I love
shot.
that visual.
Yeah, it's like a bottomless bathtub. It like opens up into like this ocean almost. It's pretty cool.
It very much reminded me of Get Out and the whatever you call that realm that they go to, and that where he's pushed into his own psyche, and you're just like have this tiny window of the life that you really desperately want to be at, but you can't get to. I think that like it's so oppressive. You know what I mean? I love that.
Yeah, for sure. It's one of those scenes. There's just a lot of like really iconic scenes in this fucking movie, which is probably why everybody likes it, and it's classic, and it's one that we're still talking about.
And vice versa.
Yeah, but it's I don't know. I dig that sequence for sure, and it's I think it was well, I'm sure it's been reproduced in a lot of movies, but I know specifically Teeth. When we talked about Teeth, there's sort of an homage to this sequence in Teeth.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Nancy does wake up. She ends up not drowning. She sort of wakes up screaming, and her mom runs in. She's like, "Oh, I just slipped getting out of the tub. I'm fine."
Poor Nancy, man. She's got to fucking coddle everybody. Her damn mom. Yeah. I just slipped. She's got to try to deal with this shit, staying awake for over a week. Oh my God. I like at one point so another thing I like about them being teenagers in this is I think when they actually filmed it, she was actually 19 or 20 at the most, because when this was released, she was 20. And there's one sign where she's like been staying awake. There's one line, she's looking in the mirror and she's like, "Oh my God, I look 20 or whatever." Yeah. I thought that shit was pretty funny.
I did too. I have never noticed that line once before. Like it just greased right over my skull.
First time watching it in your 30s, where you're like, "Oh, 20-year-old."
Oh, that's really funny because we're all dying.
We're all dead. Shit. Glenn, the next sequence, Glenn like crawls in through a window because I guess that's just what he's down to do.
That's a Glenn thing.
That's a Glenn through the window, and she's like, "Yo, you got to stand guard. I'm gonna go into my dreams and try and pull Freddy out or whatever." And like,
he's like, "Yeah,
if I start freaking out,
is there a Danny Elfman score nearby?"
There is. If I start freaking out, you gotta wake me up, but you can't fall asleep, motherfucker. And of course, he falls asleep. This dude falls asleep all the time.
This is a sleepy little boy.
Yeah. Dude, fucking fails. Now this, I mean, God, the Tina segment was great, and I guess there's not much of a segment to this, but this fucking bed scene where he gets pulled into the bed,
he gets sucked in,
and then it just explodes blood, because it's cool because he's pulled in, I guess, kind of in a dream state, but it just translates to the real world, because then his parents have to call the police and blood is just soaking through the ceiling. And I love their reactions in a way, because it's like, what the fuck do we do? Like, even the police, they're like, "What happened?" They're like, "I don't fucking know." And they're like, "Is the corner?" It's like he's puking in the bathroom because the whole fucking room is just liquid Glenn. Like he's just fucking got blendered up.
It is confusing, like the logic. So like if you know, sort of like, so Tina in real life, like when she gets cut in a dream, she gets cut in reality and she does bleed or whatever. So like we don't really see what Glenn is dreaming. We just see what's happening in reality.
Well, I think we do for a moment.
Okay.
Because we do see Freddy's arm pull him under.
Okay.
And I think Freddy's making short work of this motherfucker, because he's really after Heather Langenkamp's character.
Right.
He's like really going for her, and she's like, "Well, let's take away like one of her last lifelines." And so he yanks in Like he just does it really quickly, no chance to react or anything else, or even like rationalize what's happening to him. And then the blood spurting out, like that's almost like a transition to the real world where like Heather's cuts, like everything else that's happened, if it hurts you in the dream world, it has physical manifestations in the dream world. It has physical manifestation in the real world. So I think that's what's happening, and it's over the top and insane, but within the confines of, you know, like he basically did. He blended Glenn. Glenn is blended.
He got juiced.
He got Jamba juiced, and he shot fucking and shot out into the sky or whatever. So yeah, I think that's what happened, and it doesn't make a logical sense because that couldn't happen in reality.
Yeah,
but it happened in reality because it happened in the dream.
Yeah.
Glenn also apparently has like 100 gallons of blood in his body.
Yeah. It's like, how much blood did your son have?
Yeah.
I
never
is fucked up though.
I never really noticed this before, but so right before Glenn gets pulled into his bed, like he has a full on fucking television sitting on his crotch, and he's also listening to a record player through headphones, which is sitting on the desk next to his bed. And when he gets pulled into his mattress by Freddy also takes the TV and his record player goes in after him.
I loved that.
Yeah.
I was like,
it's just like a little thing that's like, well, yeah, okay. Like, it's like, I don't know.
It cracked me up because I was like, Freddy's killing the shit out of this dude, and he's like robbing his ass. He's stealing his TV and his fucking record player. I thought that was funny as hell.
I didn't have this back in my day.
God. Also, I don't know how you fall asleep with a TV on your crotch. Those old fucking televisions are usually pretty heavy.
Heavy as shit.
I don't know, man. That was a pretty small one, but yeah, both him and Tina, I love. Like, there's a lot of moments in this movie that are like dated, but this movie doesn't feel dated, which is really, really an accomplishment, I think. Yeah. Like it does, as much as it has like. It has those TV things, and like Heather in the bathtub, like that fucking blow up shell pillow that she's using. For some reason, that had very strong 80s connection in my mind. Yeah. And like shit like that, I'm like, oh yeah, little nostalgic throwbacks. But at the same time, like the story and the way the characters are played and everything, there's just no like nostalgia doesn't drive this movie. It's not a nostalgic love for this movie. And that's like, you know, sometimes that's the case with some of these older movies, is that your love of it is driven by your nostalgia for it. That's really not the case here.
Yeah, this movie for the most part stands on its own. Yeah. Nancy, she sort of, whenever she's having her nightmare sequence, she has like a vision of Freddy walking into the police station after Rod. So when she wakes up, she actually goes to the police station. She like begs her father to go check on Rod. She's worried that Freddy's going to kill him. And he finally agrees to go check on him, but he's a little bit too late. And there's a sequence where we see Rod's sheet sort of acting on its own accord, and it wraps up around his neck and hangs him. And Rod ends up getting killed. They show up just a little bit too late to save him, which is pretty sad. Poor Rod.
Fucking Officer Doofy could have found his keys in time. Right. They probably could have heard him yelling for help and known there was something wrong.
Yeah.
God, yeah. Not only does she have to deal with incompetent parents, but they like actively like fuck her up. Like, we're gonna keep you in this room with bars on it. It's like, God damn, guys.
When she's screaming and breaking her windows with the bars or whatever at the lieutenant that her dad set out or whatever, or the officer, and he's like, maybe I should get the lieutenant. It's like, yeah, he told you to get him if something weird's happening. His daughter is breaking windows in their house and
there's
screaming,
like smoke coming out,
calling you an asshole. Like, maybe think about it, Barney.
I have questions. Well, I have thoughts about that whole sequence, and I mean, there's some other stuff, but I guess we can just talk about the end too. We don't have to like go totally in order here, but so towards the end of the movie, like, she wakes up and she at this point, Glenn's dead. The cops are like over at Glenn's house and they're trying to figure out what the fuck happened to Glenn. And she calls over there. She talks to her dad and she's like, "Hey, Freddy Krueger, he killed Glenn. I know it. I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna go get him, and I just need you to show up here at the house in 20 minutes and arrest him because I'm gonna have him here. That's all you got to do."
Like, yeah. That is a very accomplishable goal from across the street.
And he's like, yes, of course I'll be there, but please get sleep. He doesn't believe what she's saying. He's just basically gonna shrug it off. He does tell one of his officer buddies to like keep an eye on his house because it's right across the street, and just if anything weird happens to let him know. So she goes to sleep, but actually before she goes to sleep, she does a lot of shit. She does a ton of shit. Nancy can get a lot done in 20 minutes, apparently.
She's using that Home Alone logic.
20 minutes, that's right.
She then, we have a montage of her booby trapping the whole fucking house. And then she also has like a sit down heart to heart with her mother. Like
set to silver bells.
Yeah, it's I don't know. She does a whole lot of shit, and then she eventually goes to sleep, and then starts dreaming, and then pulls Freddy out of her dream. And there's a beat where we're like not sure that she actually does pull him out, but then there's a decent jump scare where like he jumps up, God. And chases her around the house. And he gets bashed with a sledgehammer. He has a light bulb explode in his face. Yeah.
I just had this flash that I really wish was reality, which is everything that happened to the wet bandits in Home Alone happening to Freddy Krueger. I think that is something that the world needs to see.
Home Alone had to be somewhat inspired by this movie, right? Came out in 1984. The
booby trap, certainly.
Gunpowder and light bulbs.
Yeah.
And fucking and the sledgehammer was specifically where she set it up above the door that like really triggered me, where I was like, they had to have been inspired like with the paint cans and shit from Home Alone, right?
And like she's like, when she's looking at those booby traps with Glenn, she's reading that book. She's like, "You're so weird." And she's like, "What? I'm into survival." And I immediately thought, man, her and Halloween 2018 Laurie Strode would have gotten along really fucking well. Best fucking friends.
No, Freddy's getting fucking worked by Nancy. She ends up running down the basement, and he follows her, and she throws gas on him and lights him on fire. And then that's when she's sort of like, she's like screaming out the window throughout this entire sequence at the cops, like saying, "He's here! Oh my God, I need your help! He's here!" And she can't open the door because her mom locked all the doors, and there's bars all over the windows, so she can't actually get out of the house. She's trapped. She's yelling for help, and the cops just kind of like, "Huh. Everything's fine. You don't have to. Everything's totally fine." And he's being a complete
he yells back at her, "Everything's under control."
Right.
He's like, "Fuck you!"
And also, like, you have to remember that he is only across the street because a kid was literally just murdered there.
Yeah, her boyfriend, and was shot out a geyser of blood. He was not just killed, but blended like a fucking like a Jamba Juice. It's crazy.
So at this point, literally all of her friends have been brutally murdered.
Right.
And the name Fred Krueger, which he knows very well, and he has the glove of in his fucking home basement. Like, maybe put some pieces together, detective. Maybe can you not you have to be pretty fucking stupid to not take it at least a little seriously at this point.
So I'll finish this real quick. So she's working Freddy. Eventually the cops are like, "Oh, the house is smoking. I guess it's on fire. We should probably break down the door or whatever." So they finally do run up in there, and they're looking around for Freddy. They can't find him, and they see some like flaming footsteps leading from the basement up the stairs. Yeah. And Nancy's like, "Oh my God, he's after Mom." So they run up the stairs, and Freddy is on top of her mom, and he's like strangling her. And Nancy bashes him with a chair, and he's still on fire this whole fucking time. So her dad grabs a blanket and throws it over top him to like put the fire out. And then when he pulls the blanket away, Freddy is gone, and then we just see like the corpse of her mother like fade into the mattress, and it's all like foggy, and it looks like there's like lightning going on in the mattress, which is kind of a cool effect. And you're like, okay, so what the fuck is happening right now? This can't be real.
I have a theory about that.
Me too. Her dad basically has no reaction. He has no reaction at all at this point. And then Nancy is like, "Hey, why don't you go downstairs? I'm fine. I'll be down in a minute." So he goes downstairs, and then Freddy comes back up out of the mattress, and she doesn't really turn around and look at him. She's like, "I'm going to take away all the power that I ever gave you. You ain't shit. I don't believe in your ass." And he tries to slash her, and then he just vanishes because she doesn't believe him anymore, and you have to believe in Freddy for him to exist. So she sort of defeats him that way. And then we got a stinger at the very end of the movie. Nancy wakes up, walks out the front door. Her mother's standing there alive, and her mom's like, "Wow, I guess I really hit rock bottom because I totally blacked out and don't remember anything about last night. I should probably stop drinking. Haha." And then her friends roll up in a convertible. Nancy gets in. They're all alive. They drive away to school. But the convertible top rolls up, and it's like red and green striped, and it's a Freddy car, and she's still fucked up or whatever. So that's like a sting that Craven didn't really want to happen in the movie. But my theory is here, whenever Nancy booby traps the whole house, she has the heart-to-heart with her mom and then goes to sleep, I don't think she ever fully wakes up. I think it's all a dream from then to the end of the movie. Because that would sort of explain everything that we see. So like she's screaming for help and the cops are just like useless, bumbling, don't do shit. That would explain that is dream logic. It's not real people reacting in reality. Also, that would explain like her dad's complete non-reaction to what he just fucking saw happen whenever her mom like melts into the mattress with all the fog and lightning and shit. And also it would explain like seeing that at all, because we wouldn't see that in reality. We would only see that in dreamland, right? Because that's impossible. That would not be able to happen.
Yeah, I guess. Unless the mom's not dead and she's dreaming, and you have like a Glenn situation where what's happening to her is manifesting itself in reality, I guess.
See, yeah.
I don't know what's happening. I'm not sure. Like that's a fair like theory that it's all a dream from that point on. I don't know if I buy that entirely. My whole thought was just about her mom, and my thought was, and I don't know if it's congruous with the rest of it or not, so it may fall apart. But when he like gets the chair knocked over him or whatever, and lands on her mom and is lying there on fire, and then has blanket put up over him. I think like the same way that she is able to pull him out of the dream, he is pulling her mother into the dreamland. And that's what that's what we see her happening to her there. So it's not something that we've seen before, like Glenn, where it's like just shifting perspective from dreamland to reality. It's like showing in reality what it looks like for a person to be dragged into dreamland. But then the question becomes, how does he come back out of it? I don't know. So I don't know if that holds a lot of water.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah. I mean, I guess that could be true. The ending is confusing because it's not supposed to really be a part of the movie, but Nancy has to be dreaming for that to be reality, because her friends aren't alive, and of course they get in a Kruger car and drive away. So she has to still be dreaming at the end.
And it's all like milky.
It's overblown light and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess like whenever her mother quote dies, if we didn't see like foggy lightning dreamscape shit, then I would believe it was reality. Like if we just saw, blood and viscera like we saw when the other people died, then that would like follow. But like we see dreamy shit happening, and that kind of throws me off. And her dad just completely not reacting and just calmly walking away blows my mind.
I honestly think that might just be an oversight for the character.
Yeah.
Could be. Yeah.
It could go either way, because I mean, even you could say like her setting up the traps could be some kind of dream. I mean, I don't know, but I think the intention was for it to be reality, but logically it could go either way.
If it is all a dream and it's all Fred Krueger's doing, then it's completely out of character for him in terms of how he plays with his food. Do you know what I mean? Like, so he him like. This is like, I don't know. It's like the difference. I watched 1408 recently for the Horror Apocalypse podcast. And like, but part of that is like, there's a sequence of events where he escapes the inescapable room and it seems like everything's okay, but then he gets pulled back in. And that's kind of like, that's not Fred Krueger's style though. Like that could be the case here, but to me, it doesn't seem like, and again, we don't really like, we're also comparing him to what we now understand as Fred Krueger as opposed to what this movie was making. So big grain of salt just on that alone. But I don't know. To me, it just seems incongruous with what he normally does. Like, look how he plays with his other food. He just scares the shit out of him. He doesn't give them like a win ever. He will occasionally pretend to fall over, but then he'll be right behind them immediately. He doesn't give them a moment's peace. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. He's pretty much on him for the most part. You're right. Yes.
And then like the way I didn't like this ending, and it's interesting. I didn't remember anyway that last sequence was added. Can you expound on that a little?
Yeah, I don't know exactly how
Craven
to you wanted to.
I have a little. It just says Craven originally wanted a concrete conclusion to the conflict, but the studio saw this as an opportunity to make this a franchise.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's just for a stinger or whatever. And it's kind of a cool stinger or whatever, like on an aesthetic level. But yeah, it kind of it makes the ending very, very confused.
Yeah, it does.
No problem with it.
So do you guys think Nancy for real pulled Krueger into reality, and then what we see is really happening in real life, with the exception of the stinger, of course?
So we're disregarding the stinger. Then yes, I would say so. That's just my gut
yeah,
instinct on that issue.
I guess I do too. But I guess at that point, like she catches him on fire, and like, what are you gonna do? Kill a guy again? He's dead. So it's not like in reality. It's like what I mean.
Can you kill an undead dream
be?
Monster?
Yeah.
Can you arrest him? Like she wants to have her dad, but can you even lock him up? If you could, like you can beat him up. We've seen that. We can light him on fire. So there's nothing saying that he can't like be handcuffed, and put behind bars and studied or something by Charles Fleischer or whoever the fuck.
Yeah.
And then the gladiator's going to come in and recruit him with Tom Cruise, and they're going to form a team.
Ooh, totally. But to your point,
oh God, yes, come with me.
To your point there, Randy, like if he is able to just like bop in and out of Dreamland like sort of seamlessly, then I mean you could arrest him, and anytime he's ready to go, he'll just peace out and go back.
See,
to
and
Dreamland.
that's true, and that's why I'm not sure. Like I think that my interpretation of the mom situation is maybe like that if that it can be explained another way, then I think that my overall feeling about what's going on works. I just don't know what it is.
I'm wondering too, my theory, like, and it's not like a hard theory that like, I was like, that's what's happening, but it's coming to me now where Randy was talking about maybe that's what it looks like when somebody goes to Dreamland. Now we know the mom has been drinking.
Right.
And she even says when she's in Dreamland, like, oh, I was like passed out last night. It's possible that Freddy uses her as a gateway back into Dreamland. So maybe Nancy did pull him out of Dreamland and is able to do that by waking up. And if he has some sort of abilities to use a sleeping person to go back to Dreamland, that's what that could look like. And maybe they just weren't very clear about that.
She's pretty corpseified at that point, but yeah, I mean, I see your point though. The only problem is that still doesn't really answer my question or our question of like whether or not this is really happening because
it also like the way, barring this stupid stinger, the way that Nancy ultimately defeats Fred Krueger, because I mean, she beats the shit out of him, lights him on fire, all this crazy stuff. But the way that she ultimately defeats him is at the very end, whether it's in reality or in Dreamland, I guess that's debatable, is she just says, I don't believe in you anymore.
Yeah,
she,
and I had
could do that in Dreamland. She doesn't have to bring him back to reality.
She tried that in Dreamland and it didn't work. So I'm thinking that's one. Yeah, I think so. She didn't say it with such resolve, such final.
Well,
she's like, I'm pretty sure she did. Like, you're not real. You're not real.
She's like, yeah, this is just a dream. It's not real. And then he busts through the window.
So maybe it was conviction made the difference, but maybe also it was that she was in reality. And the only question at that point becomes, how did he get back to reality from dragging mom to Dreamland? And I don't know.
Not back to reality.
The irony is that she doesn't believe in him when he is actually real in reality. And that defeats
Quite ironic.
My mind is blown.
Yeah.
It's a little loose.
Well, and that sets up later.
I would love to know.
That sets up a mythos. I don't know if this was the goal from the beginning, because the one thing that we do later, it becomes, Freddy gets his power through fear and, he has to build it up and the kids have to remember him or whatever. And it's got a little bit of a Candyman situation going on there. And so like, I don't know if that was set in stone originally, like the mythos, like, okay, this is how, because the only thing that might make that is the song, because we do see that he is carried on through this like song that kids sing, which is kind of a weird thing. I don't know how that came about.
Yeah, that's true.
But that's the only thing, because they're able to recognize like, oh, he's like that guy in the old song, to where it's like continued over or whatever. So I'm not sure if that was going into it, if they wanted that idea to get to maybe explore later and the sequels and stuff. I don't know.
See, and yeah, you're right about that. And this movie always oscillates away and towards that, depending on which movie they want, like which movie you're talking about. Like the strongest I remember seeing that defined was in Freddy versus Jason, which most people or a lot of people don't even consider like canonical for him. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I love that movie. Don't get me wrong, but like there's, that's not part of the primary lineage as I understand it. So, I mean, whether or not that's the case, that would make sense with her belief making him disappear, her lack of belief, her being like, you're not real. Mm-hmm. And like the question also that I want to add to that is, how did she know that's the way to do it all of a sudden? Like what made her suddenly turn on a dime and be like, oh, I need to just try that again, but be really firm about it.
Yeah.
Glenn does mention like he's studying some sort of like dream power logic or whatever. Mm-hmm. And like if he's talking about if these people have bad nightmares, they just have to like believe that it's
turn
not
their
real.
back on him.
Yeah, and then it goes away.
And what she does.
Yeah, so she does turn her back, like literally. So yeah, I mean, she gets a little tip from old Glenn. Thanks, Glenn.
Thanks, Johnny D.
Thanks, man.
His answering sounds a lot like gurgling.
Old Johnny England. That's very disturbing. Okay.
Thanks, man.
I don't know. Do you guys have anything else you want to mention before we end up rating Nightmare on Elm Street?
Bob, no. Bob, no. No.
Oh, so
Bob,
I was watching from like a little bit of a critical sense. There's some lull moments. Like where no, where I was kind of bored, where like she goes to the dream doctor and they have to like talk about all that shit. And I don't know, it feels like between like not necessarily Tina's death, maybe like Rod's death. And I don't know, in between the deaths, there's like some lull moments where it's just like, I was feeling a little bored, and maybe it's just because I've seen it too many times.
I don't know. I kind of like that. And it's only because like a lesser movie would have just like had the mom say like, no, we're not doing any of that voodoo or some shit like that. Like, I don't know, have a reason for that not to happen. But instead they actually do explore like
hat out.
And I think like Wes Craven's idea for this movie came like partially from the idea that dreams don't have a logical reason that we know of. And that gave him an excuse to bring that old chestnut out into play via fucking Roger Rabbit's ass. So I don't know.
Yeah,
this actually came from like a news story he had read about, I think, in the newspaper, where like people were actually dying in their sleep, and like at the time the doctors couldn't figure out like what. And they were like, I don't know, they're dead. And it wasn't like a heart attack. Well, it wasn't like from heart attack or anything like that.
Yeah, they couldn't identify the cause.
Yeah,
which is super scary.
One of the kids that died, they found like a hidden coffee pot. Right? Like in his closet or something?
Yeah, still brewing.
Still brewing to this day.
Not really.
They say you can still smell the ground.
Fucking mom is stupid as shit.
That whole like sequence where they take her to the sleep doctor and all that stuff, it reminds me of The Exorcist, where like her mom's just doing everything she can to try and help her fucking daughter. It's kind of...
I like that.
I like it too, man. Yeah, it feels a little more grounded. And though her mom's like a waste of space, essentially, but she tries a little bit, you know?
Damn, I don't know, she also is like, she's probably the most inscrutable character to me, because I understand that she's a drunk or whatever, and that's implied heavily that she makes decisions while drinking and all this stuff, but she goes from like, I don't believe you, to like seeing some crazy shit at the doctor's office, to then like putting up bars and on the windows, and then showing her Freddy's fucking glove and revealing to her the big secret that Freddy's like a child murderer that they killed, and her dad and a bunch of other people. Like, I don't know. I feel like she's too confused of a character, or I'm just confused about what she's like, what her motivations are at any given time.
Well, I guess it's hard too, because we're supposed to believe that these kids were all connected to or their parents, or I'm under the belief at least that the parents were all in on it, which means that Glenn's parents would be in on it. And we get a little bit of Glenn's parents where they're like, I don't want to hanging out, this crazy chick hanging out with my daughter. It's like, you'd think everybody would be kind of freaked the fuck out.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
She's saying
shit, the
Fred
guy we
Krueger killed him. Yeah. What the fuck?
The minute that name is dropped, like they did have a moment for her parents, but nobody else. I don't know if none of the other parents heard it. Like, I don't think they did on screen, but it'd be like, all you have to do is just be like, you have a hat that says Fred Krueger. I pulled this out of a fucking dream in front of a doctor.
Yeah, in front of you, Mom. You saw it happen.
You and a doctor, and it says Fred Krueger in it.
Yeah.
Like, what do you like? Do you think that I have prop hats lying around? What the fuck are you talking?
Yeah.
Magic tricks?
Yeah.
I can slip this shit out of my gown.
Also, her fucking hair turns white and she wakes up with cuts on her arm. Like, come on.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, how much more evidence do you need? Fucking, like, the doctor sitting there and says, oh shit, it's not supposed to go this high. And he's talking about like the dream rating or the Richter scale of dreams, whatever he's got.
But again, what I do like about it though, and part of it is just this character, is like, okay, like, say you're a parent and all of that happens. Like, okay, what do you do? Like,
I see what you're saying.
Shit. Like,
first of all, you start taking it seriously.
Well,
for starters.
Sure.
And then second, you don't try and continue to convince your daughter that it's not real after you just saw her fucking arms break out into cuts.
Yeah. Time to figure some shit out. I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe it's time to rethink your approach. Maybe that's the start.
Yeah. Get a witch doctor. Get a priest. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You've seen these people have seen The Exorcist. They should know that you could at least call up fucking whatever the Annabelle people and just try and figure some shit out.
Annabelle,
whatever they call the Warrens. I couldn't think of their names.
Those Annabelle folks. Let's
those Annabelle fuckers.
Get them on the horn. We got a real thing
call
going
up Annabelle Incorporated.
Annabelle Squad. Real quick.
Yeah, I got a fucking Annabelle of my own over here on Elm Street.
I got a real Annabelle happening over here. Could you get down here?
My daughter's got this fucking haunted hat. I don't know. Get over here.
He's licking her and everything.
Whoa, he's self-edited.
He was looking at her through the phone.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Come on.
That's such a great moment too. That's not scary, but it's like that's like the kind of humor.
So
does he say bitch?
I don't
does
think
he say
so.
bitch there?
He says
I don't
Nancy.
think he does. He might. Does he ever say it at all? This movie? I don't
think so.
He's not full on bitch yet.
Yeah.
No. I wish
really
he said,
solidified.
I'm your boyfriend now, bitch.
I also want to see a version of this movie with Jesse Pinkman in the lead role.
Bitch.
Yeah, bitch.
Fucking Freddie Pinkman.
Got a tongue in your ass.
Freddie Pinkman. I'd watch that shit. Yeah, bitch. Okay. I think we got to rate this thing real quick. Out of 5, Juice. How are you feeling about A Nightmare on Elm Street?
Oof. Okay, I was saying I was being like critical on it, and like some things it was just like, oh, that one sequence is goofy, but then we were talking about how everything following it was so baller, and then it just led into another baller dream sequence, and I was like, okay, like, yeah. I mean, it is goofy and it does pull me out, but it's just for a split second surrounded by really baller other things. Again, I think the acting is solid in this for what is coming out around this time. I mean, we've talked about Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where most of the people don't do any acting or hardly any acting, or you got Franklin who wants us, to kill him, or like you got the people from the teens just don't feel like real teens in Halloween. I feel like here everything is delivered but in a very more grounded, believable way for teenagers. It feels more authentic to me, especially like what's going on in film around this time. The sounds for the time, I feel like were unique and interesting. I think they're very distinct for this character. The kill sequences aren't as cool as they end up being later down the franchise. Tina's was like scary for sure. Actually, that might not be true. Shit, Glenn's is baller. I guess Rod just kind of gets strung up with some sheets. I guess that one is lacking a scotch, but never mind. There's some pretty cool stuff in this. Damn, anytime I try to critique it.
Maybe I'm stupid.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. I guess it's so good. Iconic character, gets his ass beat, but it's okay.
It's okay.
I'll give it a 5-star.
5 stars from Juice. I'm gonna slide into the DMs here real quick and
get in there, Bob.
Weigh in on this. This movie, obviously it's a classic. It's one that we still talk about to this day for a reason, because it birthed like one of the most iconic villains of any horror movie, right? Freddy Krueger is one for the record books. Like, he's got all the hilarious one-liners in the movies to come, but in this movie specifically, like his kills are just like brutal. They're like they really are horrific, and I think they hold up to this day, and they still are horrific. There's just like the whole like movie is creative. Like, the idea of making a slasher that kills you in your dreams is just like a cool idea. And of course, like working with dream logic means that you can do fucking anything, right? The sky's the limit. As long as you have the budget to make it happen, you can do it in the movie, which is cool. Wes Craven is just a fucking genius. Like, this is, he's flexing on us yet again in 1984. It's just a great idea. He's
always flexing.
He's always flexing, that old Wes. He's known for his muscles. He just, I don't know. The movie's just it's super fun. The performances are very, very solid. The kills are brutal. Some of it is a little bit goofy. Tonally, it's a little bit off, maybe inconsistent. I don't love the aesthetic of the Nightmare movies. It's just in general, not just this one, but like the whole franchise, really. Like the whole dark, like grimy boiler room kind of feel. I don't really dig that. It doesn't necessarily like scare me. Really, it just it all looks so samey. I think I get bored seeing it over and over again.
Oh, okay.
To be honest,
I thought you were gonna say it rubbed you wrong, because like I was gonna say the color choices of the red and green were specifically chosen, like for a psychological like effect that people don't like, but you're just bored by it.
Yeah, it doesn't I don't know, it doesn't really like make me feel any which way, like scared or intrigued or whatever. It's just kind of bland. It's kind of blah. It's a little blah. And the fact that it's all like, if we're not in the boiler room sequences, we're sort of like in suburbia, and that's fine. Again, it's not like super intriguing necessarily. But it's fine for what it is, I think. But the kids pull you into the movie. They hold you there. It's super like horrific the way these kids are dying, and you're sort of rooting for Nancy the whole time while she's trying to figure this thing out like all on her own, getting fucking no help from her parents, from fucking her friends. Glenn is fucking useless. He's always falling asleep. But yeah,
sleepy ass Glenn.
I think the biggest problem for me regarding this movie is the end, the last like 20 minutes or so, where like the dream logic it feels a little loose, a little fast and loose, and I think that is a problem that continues throughout the whole franchise. It's just sort of hard to delineate like exactly what is reality and what is not. And maybe that's just me. Maybe it's very clear for other people, and you're not wrestling with that for this first movie anyways. But the ending to me is just vague as fuck. And it's a problem for me. So I think I'm going to give this a 4 out of 5.
Get his ass. Get him. Burn him. Get him, boys.
They're coming for me.
And
here
girls. We go. And ladies and gents.
All of you.
Gang. And everyone get him.
Everyone.
4 out of 5 from Bob. Randy, what do you think?
Well, I like this movie. I like it a lot. I'm going to address really quickly. You mentioned that you don't like the boiler room, and I wanted to bring up that I like first of all, these movies, they use the boiler room, a little bit, but they rarely happen primarily in a boiler room. It's usually like 1 or 2 sequences. And for me, I don't think those are bad places. Like that's not a bad setting to me, because it's so unique to this character at this point. It's so like part and parcel to it that, you only get it here, really. Nobody else is going to infringe on that for the most part. And the idea of like this really industrial, somewhat dangerous place hidden underneath the safety of your school, where somebody who wants to kill you is hunting you down in this endless hallway of corridors that have it's like a labyrinth. Always a labyrinth that has like just cutoffs and shit like that. And it's just always liminal spaces where you're not supposed to, like, nobody's doing anything. Nothing's supposed to happen. You're just walking through these spaces that are just meant to be walked through. And you know what I mean? Like, there's weird psychological shit going on in that. And I like it. I wouldn't put it, I wouldn't hang a whole movie on it necessarily. I mean, unless it's an entirely different kind of movie, but I think it works. And I also want to echo your sentiment that the dream sequence idea is just so smart, because it opens up so many doors that are closed in every other situation, because the very fact that dreams are so mysterious and so limitless makes the concepts of this movie totally limitless. And I also want to agree that the ending of this movie and the last, the things that we were trying to parse through at the end, the way the rules work, the way the ending functions, I wasn't sure how to feel about it. I've never been sure how to feel about it. And it's partially because of that stinger, but even discounting that, it's still a little bit fuzzy for me. And I wonder what it would have been without that interference. But for what we got, I feel like it's not perfect. It's not something that I would hang my hat on. And it also, to its detriment or its benefit, depending on how you look at it, led to set this precedent where, the movies, the most important part of a Freddy Krueger movie is the hunting and the killing. It's not the story arc of the characters and not where you start and land so much, not usually anyway. And the logic of those things don't matter half as much as the logic of how or how the whether seeing the fact of somebody getting shoved into a TV or whatever, that becomes more important than really most anything else. And that, I think, for my taste, is to its detriment as a franchise. So I kind of hold that against this movie, and for that reason, I'm not going to give it a full 5. I'm going to give it a 4.5, though. I'm going to be right in between the two of you guys, and I don't think that's unfair, considering the fact that we're so confused about this ending. I really think that that's kind of the key problem for me. Everything else is pretty forgivable. And it's not that I don't, look past it, because I sure love it enough to look past it. But it's just, I don't know. It set a bad precedent, and it always leaves a weird taste in my mouth at the end, because I'm like, okay, so it's resolved somehow, but is it? I don't know. How did this resolve exactly? I'm always asking that question, and that's not what you want at the end of any movie, really. Yeah. Unless, of course, it's meant to be intentionally very, very open for interpretation. But then usually there's at least one or two very clear alleyways that you're supposed to be deciding against, like Inception style. But you're not doing that here. You're really just trying to find any theory that works on the whole, So 4.5 for me.
All right.
On the whole.
Get his ass. Actually, Bob, you guys have swayed me to change mine to
you got to start going last.
No, I'm just kidding. 5-star.
Okay.
I was just fucking with Bob.
Oh, thank God.
Rob, we got to get you a pencil.
Oh, thank God.
Oh, thank God. that's gonna.
We'll get you a special Halloween themed pencil, Bob.
Yeah,
we'll have Michael Myers printed on the side. You'll really enjoy it. You could put a little, pumpkin eraser on top. You'll love it. You'll love it.
You guys are the best. You're the best. That's going to put our aggregate at a 4.5. And I did want to mention, last time we talked about a Nightmare on Elm Street movie, which is the only other Nightmare on Elm Street movie we've talked about on this show, was episode number 170, Dream Warriors. We talked about Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3.
Hell yeah.
So if you want to hear us talk about
negative
that,
for no Kincaid in this movie.
Yeah, that's right. Negative
-3 stars.
Severe lack of Kincaid. Calling Fred Krueger a bitch.
Plus, no dream power, man.
he calls him a pussy. Yeah,
he calls him a pussy.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Check that out. It's been 118 shows since we talked about Nightmare on Elm Street.
Wow, damn.
And we covered
you guys
3
are old as fuck.
Before we covered 1.
We did. It was a Patreon request, so it wasn't.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
wow.
Yep. All right. Well, let's go ahead and jump into a Rotten Tomatoes segment and see what the critics and users think about Nightmare on Elm Street.
Certified fresh to death.
All right. I found my dream power, man, and it's called RottenTomatoes.com. Here it is. Your favorite segment. What?
Sweet.
Nothing. Go ahead.
Sweet.
Your favorite segment of the show, Rotten Tomatoes, begins now, in which I will have these two gentlemen guess with the best of their ability what the aggregate scores are for both critics and users on RottenTomatoes.com. We're going to start with Juice on the critic score, and bear in mind that there are 53, count them, 53 critic scores in play. So what do you think, Juice?
It's got to be good. I'm going to go 86.
86. Project or regular?
Yeah, give me the project.
Okay. Bob, what about you?
Man, is it higher? I know it's high, but I don't know if it's higher than 86.
That's the game, Bob.
That's the game.
Higher.
How you play it.
Gonna... Damn. I am torn. You know, I'm gonna be a true believer, and I'm gonna go with 90.
Whoa, true believer.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, Bob, your true belief paid off, but you didn't truly believe just enough.
Damn.
Because this is a 94% positive certified fresh film.
Okay.
The critics' reviews are as follows. Wes Craven's intelligent premise combined with the horrifying visual appearance of Freddy Krueger still causes nightmares to this day. Seems pretty fair to me.
True.
Let's go over to the audience score. There's a few more audience scores. There's 415,473 of them. So just a couple extra on top. Little floater of scores. So why don't we start with Bob on this one? What do you think? 0 to 100%. What are the audience thinking of this movie? The oozers.
I think it's going to be a little bit less than the critics because I don't know how it could be any fucking higher. That's really high. Just give me. I'm going to go with 90 again. Give me a 90.
90. All right, Juice. How about you?
I'm going to go lower and $1 Bob with an 89.
Whoa.
They call me $1 Bob.
Well, that $1 is going to save you a bundle because you got yourself an 83% and a win.
Whoa! Damn. Can I get a hell yeet?
No, you cannot get that.
You cannot.
But you can get the W for that.
All right.
And I would normally at this point read a negative review blindly in hopes that it would be funny. But unfortunately, there are no negative reviews on here. Oh, wait, there's just one. Okay, there's one with an actual comment. Here's what it says.
All right.
In this kind of movie, it's not the actor's sweat and tears the audience cares about. It's only the blood. Okay, thanks, People Magazine.
What?
That was useless.
That doesn't mean anything. Okay.
Yeah. It means that like this person, this is just blood sport, I guess is what he's saying. It's like, this is just an excuse to watch blood fly. And it's a fucking horror slasher, so I mean, the fuck do you want?
Fuck you want from me? So.
What
from me personally? Yeah. So there you go. There's your Rotten Tomatoes.
Sweet.
There are none. Only fresh tomatoes.
There are none.
I love them. You gotta cut them up, put them on a grilled cheese sandwich. All right.
Straight cooking.
Let's
straight cooking.
Let's go ahead and get into some. Let's get into some trivia.
It's totally time for trivia.
It's totally time. So we've got a very concise list of trivia today.
Interesting.
Yes. Thanks to some good work that was put into, I don't know. Are we supposed to keep it?
I don't know.
Are we allowed to drop names? Well, since we don't know.
We got a friend that helped out. We got a straight chilling intern.
Yeah.
So thanks.
We'll check in with him
about that
and clarify next time, maybe.
Yeah. He may not want his name associated with our bullshit.
Possibly.
Maybe not.
Possibly.
Yeah. I don't know. So, so we were talking about the sound design of this. Charles Bernstein. Mm-hmm. He also did Cujo, The Entity, and April Fool's Day. So we have covered Cujo and The Entity at least. Nothing stands out to me about those. Randy did not cover the Cooge. He was traveling.
True.
Makeup. was David Miller. He also did Terminator, Doom, Batman, and Robin. I like that one.
Damn.
Night of the Creeps, Swamp Thing, and Michael Jackson's Thriller music video. So, hey, how about that?
That's a hell of a repertoire.
Yeah. The budget for this film was $1.8 million. It made $57 million in the box office.
Wow.
So there
Good
you
for
go.
them.
Can I get
hence the 25 sequels?
No.
So Craven decided on the name Freddy after a bully of Craven's for many years during his youth, which he later said he regretted, I guess, giving that guy like props, I guess, or whatever, or making his name so iconic. This is fucked up. Freddy's hat and outfit came from an experience which occurred to Craven at a young age. When one night he saw a man staring at him through his window.
That's really fucked up. Damn.
Yeah,
has happened to multiple people I know, actually, and it's really fucked up.
That is insane.
Yeah. So what the fuck? The green and red pattern on his sweater were chosen due to a study which found that the human body triggers emotions of uncomfortability. That's
discomfort, maybe
discomfort. Yeah. Thank you. When those two colors are within close proximity to one another, which got me thinking, like, because it's not Christmas green and red. Because I was like, wait, though, Christmas green and red, but it's like this grimy, muddy green.
It's like a hunter green almost.
Well, it's contextually, like, speaking color theory wise, I don't know about psychologically, but like those colors they're complementary, and when you put complementary colors next to each other, a lot of times what they call vibrate, and it sort of like has like visually causes sort of like a friction between the two colors. The same thing happens with orange and blue. The same thing, like it happens with colors, and I don't know if that's tied into that or not, but that's just something I know from bullshit that I had to learn.
Color theory Randy over here.
Sounds like we need
color
to
me
69
bad
dudes.
69
dudes.
Yeah.
That's a lot of dudes.
Apparently, Freddy was originally meant to be a mute character, so no bitches were intended.
So glad that they chose that, because I mean, this is the character, like, he stands out amongst all of the other like major slashers of that time before like Child's Play, because he was not just like talking, but he was like riffing on shit by the time we got into it. Like, he's constantly like cracking jokes. Right, even in this show, even in this movie, this original, he's still kind of funny. Like his fucking face when he's cutting off his fingers, that's just like, huh?
Yeah,
like that shit's hilarious and terrifying. Like,
yeah, and we get the bitches later, so appreciate that.
Yeah.
Craven had originally cast David Warner, who starred in Titanic and In the Mouth of Madness, but he had to cancel due to a shooting conflict. So, hey, that lucked out for us. And yeah, there's a ton. So there's a ton of trivia, but I think that's kind of like towards the top, the most interesting kind of stuff. Unless there was any questions you guys had. The franchise has now earned over $630 million, it says. Damn.
This is like the first major hit for New Line. So, I mean, I think they're still in business, right?
Yeah. It like saved the company. Like
that is One Piece.
They bet on Nightmare and it worked out. If it hadn't, the company probably would have gone out of business. They would have gone on.
I mean, shit. Lord of the Rings, Annabelle, like it movies, like they've produced so many fucking movies, and it really is because this one was a success.
Yeah. Thanks.
It's crazy.
Thanks, Wes Craven, for saving this whole fucking company. Way to go.
Yeah.
I think you mean thanks, Satan.
Thanks, Satan.
Hail Satan.
He's the real power behind the Craven throne.
Yeet Satan. Am I right, Juice? Is that
no?
Is that what the kids do?
Satan must be stopped at every opportunity.
Rob.
Yeet Satan, that means you want to get rid of Satan, Bob?
Dude, I don't know what this shit means. Let's
old man Bob over here.
Are we you done with the trivia? Are we gonna go hunting? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Right.
Let's hunt them.
Let's go hunting.
Cooter of the week.
What's a cooter?
Let me tell you about it, Randy. Cooter is a character type. It is a straight chillin' exclusive. Character has to hit 3 of these 5 character traits to be considered a cooter. The 5 points overall are sexual deviance, overall look and attire, manipulation, smug arrogance, and overall patheticness. Boys, who are we taking to Cooter Court this week?
Vroom, vroom, vroom.
Man, there's
talking about my boy Hot Rod.
I feel like there's at least 2, maybe 3. I mean, we got to start with the Krug, I believe.
The Krug.
We got to start with the Krug.
Big, bad, rude Krug.
My boy Krug. Bob, all right, kick us off. Nominate him for one of the points.
All right, I nominate him for attire.
Okay, and why?
That hat, get out of town. That sweater, get out of town. That glove, what are you, like a fucked up sadistic Michael Jackson? Get out of town.
It's fingerless.
But it's blade full, which is bizarre.
Yeah, it
is shiny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, he's got the attire. He's got it.
I'm down for attire. I do. One of the things I like in Freddy vs. Jason, and it's maybe in some of the other ones, where he gets taunted for like his sweater.
Yeah.
And like how stupid it looks. That's pretty good. All right, so attire, I'll give it to him. All right. What other points do we want to?
Should we tackle sexual deviance? I mean, I think that's still kind of a question mark.
As far as this movie goes, okay, yeah, let's see if we can knock him on that. So, does he have any sexual deviance? I think he does.
I would argue that he has enough.
He does.
I think so.
He licks Nancy, or licks her, or whatever.
Through the phone.
Licks her through the phone, and then up grabbing her through the tub. He's creeping.
Yeah, it's.
I mean, that shot is meant to be sexual.
Oh, what?
I mean, I know. I'm just saying, but are we going to pin that on Krug?
I think so.
Well, he's the character doing it.
It's like we got what we got, and it's also like hinted that he did more in the past, and we know that it was sort of pulled back specifically because of some real life stuff going on. I think it's safe to say that we can nail him on that. Sexual
All right, I think so. Nail him, Bob. I'll let you nail him.
Ooh, nail him, Bob.
Oh my God.
All right, so he's got the attire and the look. He's got the sexual deviancy. Is he arrogant? Smug arrogant?
Yeah.
For sure.
And it's not that he doesn't have the reason to be either. He kind of he's basically a god so long as they're in the dreams.
Randy.
Oh, fucking I keep thinking about that finger thing where he's just like, huh? Check it out. I just cut my fingers out.
Whatever the fuck I want.
Yeah, I can do whatever I want. You're fucked. You are fucked.
And he cuts his nipple open. There's no need for that. That's pretty smug, I guess.
There's no need for that. Yeah. Come on, Fred. You're going to kill me. There's no need for it.
He's just constantly playing with his food. He's just entertaining himself. He's having a good time.
The torture's part of it. Yeah. And torture takes a certain kind of arrogance, I would say.
Yeah. And since it's not explored so much in this movie about like, oh, does he need to scare his victims to gain more power? Then I would say that is enough to be like, you're playing with your food. We don't know if there's a reason behind it. It mostly seems like you're just an arrogant, like, powerful son of a bitch. So yeah, I'll give him the old arrogance.
What do we think about manipulation? I mean, that seems pretty standard. Yes, right?
Manipulation.
He manipulates quite a bit in this film.
I like to pull out like specific instances. Who's he manipulating? Well, at least at the end, if it's like the dream sequence and like, the people aren't the people they're supposed to be. So that's not really like maybe like her mom or, that's a form of manipulation.
I mean, he's tricking people like into thinking they're not asleep when they are, or tricking like if you're tricking somebody, you're lying to them in order to get what you want. In his case, what he wants is to torture and then kill you. So it all kind of ties together. He's definitely manipulating them into a situation where he can then kill them with a flourish.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So he's got the 4. And finally, I am going to give him the overall pathetic tag. And let me give you a couple instances.
Okay.
When he gets his ass beat by a 16-year-old girl. Beat. And another one, this is actually the one that really like triggered first for me. Nancy pulls his hat out of a dream. Now, this is a burnt child molester who fucks with kids. He's got his name written in his hat. Like, what kind of sad shit is that?
Buddy, you know, you wouldn't be saying that if you've ever lost a hat. I'll tell you that much.
Fred Krueger, please return this hat to Fred Krueger if I misplace it.
Hats don't grow on trees, man.
What's his mom's name? I can't remember, but yeah, please return to my mother at this address.
I don't know. That stood out as pathetic to me.
To me, like, I mean, him getting his ass beat, I think that's part of what makes him so interesting as a character. So I don't know if it counts, if I'm even counteracting the argument, but I just wanted to bring up how like great it is to have, like, whereas Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees and most of these slashers are stoic, nonverbal, or otherwise, like just like insurmountable in some way. You can only run. In his case, you can fight and you can beat his ass. It just never keeps him down. He's just a resilient motherfucker.
Yeah,
I love that.
I like that that's somewhat consistent with Wes Craven, where you see that in the Scream franchise as well. Whoever Ghostface is just gets their ass beat.
Yeah,
it's true.
Yeah, he doesn't allow them the luxury of not being a little vulnerable, even if. But the thing that makes that maybe not pathetic is, he doesn't have to be vulnerable. I don't think, in most cases, unless he's truly been tricked, and usually that's at the end of the film, he's just playing with his food and just allowing them like a little false hope here and there just so he can be right behind them. Like I said earlier, like one shot later. So I don't know. I kind of feel like that's the weakest point, but he's definitely got at least the 4, I would say.
Yeah, solid 4, light on the 5th.
4 and change, you could say.
Book him.
Book him, boys.
He's a Cooter.
We're going to get arrested.
Randy, you wanted to talk Hot Rod?
Mm-hmm.
We can talk Hot Rod. Let's talk Hot Rod, because Hot Rod kind of fits the mold of what I envisioned when we first started using the word Cooter regularly as an archetypal character.
Oh, sure.
It's the 80s horror movie bad guy, basically, but not the main bad guy. Just sort of like
a villain.
He's not a villain. He's just kind of a prick who everybody puts up with. Yeah, you want him to die. You really do. He's there for fodder purposes.
All right.
And he and specifically in his case, he follows the rubric of wearing the shitty greaser revival.
So attire. You're going to start him with the tire.
I'm going to start him with the tire because that greaser revival shit is that's numero uno, telltale red flag for me.
All right.
Sexual deviance. I think he's pretty manipulative, and I guess that goes to manipulation as well. Pretty manipulative in the way that he interacts with Tina. We had a little discussion about this earlier. It's debatable, I guess, but the fact that she's doesn't want her friends to leave and has to kind of make a joke about it to get them to stay while her boyfriend supposedly is there to fuck her is not a good sign. No matter what area you're in.
She also wants them to stay because she's terrified of having nightmares. She wants to be around
so that's
people.
the counter argument there. I would say it could easily be one way or the other, I guess. But for me, it skews in that direction because it really feels like he's twisting her arm to come to bed with him. So I guess that's a half point maybe. Yeah. But just to split the difference. Pathetic. Yeah, kind of pathetic in general. I don't know. He goes out with the worst kill of the movie because partially because he needs to be part of Freddy Krueger's manipulation against Heather Langenkamp's character. But I don't know. To me, he's talked down to by, he tries to shit talk people, but he's constantly being shit talked back by Glenn. And he tries to pull a knife on Glenn, and Glenn's just like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Glenn doesn't give a fuck. It's kind of, I don't know. It's like he's cosplaying as a hard guy.
Yeah, I get
He's
the
a
sense that
hard guy.
he's kind of a piece of shit, but his friends know that he's mostly harmless. So when he does real outlandish shit, they're just like, "Fuck off! You're not going to do anything," because they know him, you know. But we don't,
which is a little pathetic.
It is.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's like, it's pathetic because, like, to me, it's like the kid that you like knew in like middle school or whatever that bragged about like having sex with 100 chicks or some shit when he's never seen a tit before. you know this inherently.
Last week,
like you know this, so I think we've all had the conversation with a kid that's tried to pull that shit.
Oh yeah,
just blatant. Like we could tell stories about kids we know who tried to pretend they were going to be in the next Batman movie. So I mean,
that is fact.
That's factually accurate. So yeah, that shit happens, and this guy strikes me as that kind of character.
We know some famous motherfuckers, apparently.
Yeah, we do. Oh, I'm gonna be Robin in the next Batman movie. Really? Because you're serving popcorn now. Anyway, so
just doing research for his next role.
That's right.
Yeah. His next, they're recasting Robin as a guy who works at a movie theater.
He doesn't work in the circus anymore.
Yeah.
Oh man.
With gauges. Anyway, but next we have manipulation, which I think we covered as being part of the mix for sure.
Yeah, Randy's on fire today.
Yeah.
And then smug arrogance. I mean, we got that, right? Does that really need a whole
smug arrogance?
Sure,
so he's hitting at least as many points as Fred Krueger. Maybe
I would give him like the 3. I'll give him pathetic and look and smug arrogance.
Manipulation.
Yeah. Maybe light. Maybe we don't know enough. Yeah. Hard 3 though, which is all you need.
It's a
hard 3 and then 2 halves, which equates to a 4. So he's maybe just under the Krug.
Yeah. We're booking him. He got booked.
Let's book his ass.
Boys.
Hot Rod in jail again. Watch out for them sheets, buddy.
All right.
Yeah. The only other one, which is kind of light on the scale, is the mom, Nancy's mom. I don't know if she's pretty pathetic. She's somewhat.
She looks
sad.
weird. I don't know what's going on with her makeup or something.
It's just heavy makeup.
Freaks me out. Yeah, but even like when she's supposed to be waking up in the morning and they're like having coffee or something, like she's still like, I don't know, she's a weird looking person.
I think it's just a case of 80s over makeuping.
Attire, maybe. I think I would make a case that she's manipulative because she's, bold-faced lying to her daughter. She's got Freddy's fucking glove in the basement the whole time, and she's just like, "Oh, baby, you just need some sleep. That's all you need."
Baby.
And then she just like, fucking locks all the doors and throws away the key and puts bars up on all the windows. So like her daughter just can't leave. Like basically turns the house into a fucking prison. Just like fucking her daughter over left and right. Just really not showing up there, showing up for, with the exception of the sleep therapy kind of thing. I think that was good on her part, but for the most part, her mom, I think, is just
trying to get any professional help at that point is a good idea.
I think mostly her mom's is just kind of manipulating her daughter though and fucking her over.
And she's a little pathetic. Yeah. I think the look and attire maybe is more of an 80s aesthetic thing than anything, but it's like 2.5. Maybe 3.
I don't know that she's really arrogant or sexually deviant at all.
She's on Cooter parole.
Yeah, Cooter. Yeah.
She's on parole.
She's on Cooter. She's on the watch list.
Yeah, she's 2.5 maybe out of 5. Not gonna quite get her there, but yeah, that's all. Did you guys have anybody else you want to nominate?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. No. All right. Glenn sucks and can't stay awake, but other than that, he's fine.
He's
Glenn's old sleepy dick. That's all.
Sleepy Dick Glenn. That's what we call him.
That's what they call him.
Well, then, let's go ahead and let our hair down because it's the social hour. We got to talk about what we've been watching this week.
Whoa.
Hey, gang, what you been watching?
I don't have any hair, Rob.
Let's get those finger Sammys. Yeah, Randy is bald now and also surrounded by hell now all of a sudden.
I'm surrounded
You
by
were
hell.
starting off. You were just in a regular old white room. Now you are in darkness.
This is the point where you see a clawed hand come out from the darkness behind me and just yank me back. Yeah, well.
Randy, I know you've been watching a lot of shit. Why don't you tell us about it, please?
Yeah, man, we just haven't covered this in a little bit, and there's a lot that I wanted to talk about. I mentioned earlier, watch 1408, listen to the Horror Apocalypse podcast for more thoughts on that. One BR or One Bedroom. Have you guys seen this one?
No.
It's a newer one. Okay. it's worth a watch, I would say. So I don't want to spoil what's going on in this movie because it's not like a big spoiler or anything. I'm sure you kind of figure it out watching the trailers, but just in case, I think it's worth a watch. It's about a woman moving to LA for the first time, but on her own as a young woman, and trying to get into this apartment complex where, you know, everybody's kind of cool or whatever and taking care of each other, and so that she can pursue her dreams. Again, tough to talk about it from that point on because there's things that happen that I can't really reveal, but I think it's a worthwhile venture.
Horror thriller.
It is a horror, yeah, horror thriller. I would say both are accurate. I also watched The Devil's Advocate, which I don't know if you guys have seen, but it was my first time seeing it, and Jesus Christ, it is so fun to watch Al Pacino go insane, and I don't think I've ever really seen that. I still haven't seen.
Is that where Keanu's? Is Keanu in that too?
Yes, yeah, Keanu's in it. He is not the standout in that movie though, by any means. Fucking Al Pacino. This movie made me understand. I mentioned this on the Horror Apocalypse podcast as well, but this is the movie that made me realize just why people imitate Al Pacino so often and try and do imitations of him or whatever, because it's so fun to like watch him just be like, "Hey, I got a joke for you." Like doing all this like he seriously, I said this again on the other podcast as well, but it's like you can see them in word bubbles like a comic book character above his head. Everything he says, but he literally says when he laughs, "Ha ha ha." It is fucking weird. It's like and it's like, okay. Anyway, I think that's kind of a fun movie. It's a lot of Jacksonville shit going on in there, so we may have to cover that at some point. Yeah. Not a lot, but it's mentioned for us. That's a lot. I watched American Murder, the true crime documentary about the Shanann Watts murders.
Yeah,
which made me weep. It was very fucking sad. And I believe, Justin, you're going to do a little talk on that for a mini episode, perhaps.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a mini episode on that one because I've like done true crime like series. This one is actually like a full like movie, like straightforward. But I figured I'll go ahead and cover it. It's since I've done some true crime before, might as well go ahead and keep it, you know, in the loop.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think it's worth a look for sure. In fact, the fact that it isn't a full series and is instead just a feature-length film, essentially, I think that actually counts to its benefit because a lot of times those longer ones can be a little bit of a slog. As much as I love them, they can be a little bit of a slog.
Yeah. Very shocking, though.
Very shocking. And this is like a very unique one, too, because they don't actually do any of the talking head shit. They don't do any analysis. They only show footage of the people involved from all angles. That's pretty much all they do. There's not any like overarching commentary or narrate or anything like that.
That's true.
It's
that is
very
one thing
unique.
I'm gonna like really talk about because it bothers me like more than it's. Well, I don't want to talk too much about it, but more than it is sad, but also troubling, I guess. Just because of like the access to that private information that's now all over like a documentary. It's weird.
Yeah, I hear you on that. I also watched a little bit of Joe Bob in the form of the Slumber Party Massacre 2 entry and the Victor Crawley entry. I had seen Slumber Party Massacre 2 before, so not much to say there, but Victor Crawley, that was the first Hatchet film I'd seen at all.
Really?
And I got to say, it is not what I expected, and I might have to watch all those movies because I pretty thoroughly enjoyed myself watching that.
Really?
I did. And I think, Rob, you kind of had a dissenting opinion about that, which kind of steered me clear for a few years. I may be wrong about that.
I will say the Hatchet franchise is enjoyable overall. It's got some problems. It's not my favorite. But of the four movies, Victor Crowley is my favorite of them.
Oh, okay. So, that's sad for me. I was thinking that they were all that good.
I would say at least the first two are worth watching. The third one is very difficult to get through, but that's also the only one that Adam Green did not direct himself.
Interesting. Okay.
So they're worth watching, though. I wouldn't say that you shouldn't watch them, especially if you dig Victor Crowley. Totally watch them for sure.
Yeah, I really liked it because it was a lot more irreverent than I was expecting.
Yeah,
and that's just my shit, man. I like irreverence. Moving on, I watched a movie called The Paramedic, which was was it Spanish film? It was. I can't remember. It was not. It was in a foreign film of some variety. They spoke Spanish, and that's an interesting one because it uses. It's about this guy who's a paramedic who ends up getting into a bad accident while in an ambulance and is paralyzed from the legs down, but he's also hardcore stalking his girlfriend and then ex-girlfriend. And it just leads to some terrible, terrible things. It's pretty good. And having watched it with Becky, I can tell you definitively that the depiction of his particular illnesses was on point. So if that matters to you, know that. And I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was it's a good Halloween watch to me. I thought it was pretty good because it's just spooky sort of thing without being ghosty necessarily. Speaking of Halloween, watch WNUF Halloween Special. I like it better. I think I like that movie a little bit more each time.
Nice.
Last time I paired it with Ghost Watch for the podcast, and I think that's the mistake. Taking it entirely on its own, I think it's a lot easier to swallow some of its lesser attributes in comparison. I watched a movie called Season of the Witch on Criterion. It was weird. I don't really want to get into it. It was weird. I watched House at the End of the Street with fucking what's her name from Hunger Games, and it was actually tolerable up until like the last minute where they tried to pull some Norman Bates bullshit that really rubbed me the wrong way. So I'm gonna go ahead and say not good.
Aww.
I watched Hubie Halloween, which Rob and I had a lengthy discussion about.
Yeah, I woke up to that shit.
Yeah, and it was confusing to me. I'm still kind of not clear on what they were aiming for with that one. What makes it worthwhile, though, is that they really dedicate themselves to the Halloween aesthetic. And for that reason, I think it's worth watching. It's probably best to watch if you have some kids, but don't take my word for that, because I think there's a few things that a few parents would not be okay with their kids seeing. That's up to you. Watch the first episode of Bly Manor, reserving judgment until I see more. So far, so good, I think, though. Watched Evil Dead last night in a drive-in and sat next to a family, including a couple of under 10-year-old
Evil
kids.
Dead remake, you said, right?
Remake.
Like the newest one.
Remake.
Oh,
Damn.
my God.
One of the kids was 4 or 5 years old, and it really, really, really bummed me out.
That's too much.
That's
Way
fucked
too
up,
much.
man.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah,
man.
that movie is rough.
Yeah.
On all counts. Sexual, violence.
Yeah.
gore, blood,
not to tip the hand, but there is a tree that enters a woman's vagina in that film. So, what the fuck? You can hear me talk about that at length on the Slack channel, because I already have and probably will if I'm prompted again. That's just my way. And last, finally, I got to rewatch Poltergeist, and it's still good.
Nice.
I feel like I got a whole lot off my chest
That was
just
a
now.
lot.
Ooh.
Juice, what you been watching?
I watched the first 2 Halloweens back to back. That's going to be helpful soon for me, but also it's just spooky season, but I didn't want to wait until the week of Halloween to watch them. Mm-hmm. So I watched Halloween 1 and 2. Yeah, 2. I mean, it's still kind of like this one where, I mean, I still think it's good, but there were some things where I was like, but I've always enjoyed watching those films so close together. I love watching them back to back like that. I finished Ratchet. I'll do a mini podcast on that. I watched that documentary about the murder or whatever, next door, suburban murder. I watched the first episode as well of the Blythe Manor. I like that it feels, even though it's a completely different location, completely different cast, it's got a very similar feeling. Just, I don't know. It feels consistent, even though it's completely separate.
I've heard that British folks are not too keen on the faux accents that are in that.
Oh, really?
So far, yeah.
Interesting.
Which is easy to see once you.
Is it? Oh, so the kids are doing fake accents?
I don't know about the kids, but it was at least a couple of the adults.
Okay. That's interesting. Why wouldn't they just hire British people? All right.
I don't know. Well, one of them was the dad from the last one, so maybe they just need him to be in
I
it.
see.
I don't know.
Okay. So I do like that. Man, ghosties, they scared the like just ghosty themed things, like just the beats of a ghosty show or movie really fucking scare the shit out of me every time. Like I tension bish out on that. But so
it is very bizarre indeed.
It's probably going to be slow going for me, but I'll get through the old Blythe Manor. Is that it? I think so. I'm like gearing up tonight. I was going to watch it last night. I went hiking through the mountains and like all the leaves are changing perfect, like fall weather. And I was going to sit down as soon as I got home and watch Over the Garden Wall. And I was out of hot cocoa. So tonight I'm
game's off.
It was. I was like, cause I got even sent, they don't have candy corn here, but somebody sent me some candy corn. I'm like going to have some hot cocoa. Like I've got it all set up.
Nice.
I'm like, all right, here we go. So tonight I'm like gearing up for it, but that's all I've watched so far. I'll talk about my experience next week. So Rob, tell me about those baby blues you've been hiding away.
Let me tell you. So I did watch Over the Garden Wall start to finish.
Over the God and walls.
Over the Garden Wall.
Over the gods and walls.
Bob, tell me about your experience.
We had a very nice week weather-wise in Florida, and it was very, very pleasant outside.
Well,
felt like fall. I got to introduce a friend to Over the Garden Wall. We watched the whole thing start to finish. Very, very enjoyable. That whole thing is just fucking great. That second to last episode.
Oh, Bob. Yes, Bob.
Yeah, those two last episodes in.
Yes, Bob. Yes.
Yes. The way that show ends is just, God, I love it so much.
I love that whole fucking thing.
It's like fucking
I'm saving mine. I'm saving mine until I get outside of a fucking desert where Halloween is apparently not so much of a thing.
That's a good call, yeah.
So yeah, that's always enjoyable. I got this Hammer Horror box set of like 8 movies, and I watched the first one on that. It's called The Brides of Dracula. It's from 1960. Pretty cool. I haven't seen a whole lot of Hammer Horror movies, which I'm trying to get into a little bit more of it, just to familiarize myself with some of these older movies. I dig like the aesthetic here, like the colors and the way things are like shot, and the way that like the vampires are like fucking vampires. Like they have the little fake teeth, and they're very like stately, and like they have the makeup on and everything, and they just, I don't know. I dig the vibe, especially in October. It feels kind of right to be revisiting some of these older movies in October. I dug it for what it was. It didn't blow me away, but pretty enjoyable. I did a double feature at the drive-in last night. Sunray Cinema, fucking killing it with the drive-ins during this pandemic. The double feature last night was of Psycho and The Thing, which was fantastic. It rained during Psycho, so we had to sit in the car for it, but it stopped raining for The Thing, and the weather was perfect, really nice and cool and enjoyable. So we got our little lawn chairs out, and we sat outside and watched The Thing, and it was fucking great. I love that movie. It's fantastic. I also watched Hubie Halloween, which I won't speak on too much because I will be dropping a mini cast this week on Hubie Halloween.
Oh, mini cast.
So, you got that coming out, and I think that's all I got to talk about. That's all I've been watching. We got one more segment to get to here. It is our Hotline Scream. If you are listening and you want to call and leave us a voicemail, you can hit us up at 904-638-3231. Last week we did pose a prompt, which was, what would you, the listeners of the show, like to be referred to as? The straight chillings, the straight chillers, the straight chillangs, the whatever, what have you. So we got some responses to that. We also got some random people calling and weighing in on some stuff.
Straight Chilean sea bass.
That is fantastic. I like that quite a lot. So we got Rainey. Are you going to play 5?
I'm going to play all 6.
You can play all 6? Okay, so we got 6. The first 2 are from Anonymous. I really we got no idea. Take it away.
All right, here's the first one from Anonymous, and you're going to get some flashes of Black Christmas here.
Oh, Bob. Yes, Bob. Yes. Yes. Yes, Bob. Yes.
Sexual.
Oh, God, yes, come with me.
Wow.
Sounds like you are putting in work, Bob.
Mm-hmm.
I just showed somebody my Blu-ray collection, and that's what they had to say. That was their response.
Was it hanging on your cock?
Oh,
damn!
The jokes that I'm not going to say right now. All right, we got
probably was.
We got another one from Anonymous.
I don't know if it's the same Anonymous, but we'll find out.
All right.
Maybe. I don't know. Probably not.
Questions, doubt, dancers, wood, behavior, text, failure, development, beyond, philosophical, symptom, articulate. The number 7, 12, 34, 72, 106, 49.
Okay, so I think I was just activated as a sleeper cell. I think I gotta go.
Is that a riddle of some sort? Like,
it reminded me of Zodiac. Isn't that what happened like in Zodiac? When it just like an arrangement
Some of them, yeah.
random things.
Maybe so, yeah.
Some of it, yeah. But I don't know, man.
The good thing about living in South Korea is the weirdo stalkers can't get to me. And if you do, you have to go through quarantine first. They're going to get your ass. I'm safe.
They can't detect ill intentions with fucking
Bob and Randy, though. You guys.
Yeah. Well,
maybe I'm stupid.
All right.
Nope,
good call.
I'm not stupid this time.
Hopefully we don't
I
die.
Google searched all of these words together and they brought up nothing except for scholarly articles about the philosophy of dance. So I don't think that's related.
Makes sense.
But
He's a dancer.
I guess we'll have some research to do.
He's a big
I don't
dancer.
know if I didn't expect to get calls from QAnon when we started this, I gotta say.
I'm just disappointed they didn't include Yabos, but one,
Yabos.
That's the key word, the key phrase that activates the Manchurian Candidate is left out. All right.
I'd be on board.
Should we do the next one, Bob?
Yeah, let's do it. I think Michael's up next. Let's see what he has to say.
It's a long one.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Michael at Horrorpocalypse, and hold on, I'm pulling over so that there you put it in park. Lord knows I don't want Rob to have an issue with audio, but I just finished your Simpsons Treehouse of Horror episode, and fantastic episode, guys. I loved it. As I mentioned in the Slack channel, Soju, Justin, when you bust a gut laughing, talking about whatever subject it is, your laughter is so infectious, it carries over, and I couldn't help but smile and laugh along with you, even though I couldn't see you. But I knew the scenes you were talking about was fantastic. But the main reason for my calling is I just finished the call-ins for you guys, the Hotline Scream, and I need to call Wes out on something. He said he was going to watch his first movie was going to be a zombie movie. He didn't mention any zombie movies. He said Friday the 13th. Jason is not a zombie. He's a revenant. There's a huge difference with that. Not even arguable. Not even a discussion. You're talking to a resident zombie expert here. Next up, he mentioned 28 days and 28 weeks later. Neither one of those are zombies either. They're infected by a disease called rage. They don't really, I mean, this one can be argued, but they're not the classic sense. They're not being controlled, mind controlled per se. They're not dead, reanimated, eating flesh. The only thing that would classify them as a zombie really is the fact that they have no control over their own impulses. Although it is still their body and still their brain that's activating them, there's no control over their impulses. So that's not I guess by definition, you could argue them as zombies, but they're not zombies. You gotta watch a Dead movie. You gotta watch something Romero. You gotta watch something based off of Romero. Something set in the same universe as Romero. Shaun of the Dead even would be great. Anything by Fulci. There's so many zombie movies out there that are zombie movies. You don't have to go with something that's not. Oh my God, that outro song for you guys. I love you guys. You guys are fan-fucking-tastic, and you have some of the best fans as well, myself included. I'm kind of humble in that aspect. But you guys That outro song was amazing, and I'm super fucking jealous. How do I get an outro song? Anyway, guys, thank you so much. I love calling you guys. I'm sorry I don't do it more, but you know what? Have a great one, and I can't wait to talk to you again. Later.
Woo! That was a mouthful.
That was. So,
thanks for calling in, Michael.
I'm
do. Glad I can bring you so much happiness.
Oh my God! I was gonna say I agree with Michael, but now
That's
I can't.
what I live
because
for.
You're full of it. You're so full of shit. I can't do it. Yes.
I mean, I also appreciate the zombie schooling. I don't know.
Yeah, that was good.
I'd never heard of a Revenant, so I'm glad to know that.
I do have issue with someone taking Jason Voorhees and comparing him to Leonardo DiCaprio. I don't think Michael knows as much as he's saying. He's full of shit.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, Michael. Yes, Justin, your laughter is infectious. I have seen it infect people in turn.
Usually Bob.
Yeah.
Once me and Bob get going together, it's hard to stop.
Oh, I know.
It feeds. We feed each other, and it's snowball effect. It is intense. Your laughter infects.
Oh God, yes, come with me.
It infects people and turns them into zombies, Michael. That's what it does.
Laughing zombies.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for calling, Michael. We got 3 more. Next up, I believe, is Matt. Let's hear what he has to say.
Hey guys, it's Matt from Jacksonville. I feel obligated to tell you that it is 5:56 a.m. That seems weird though. Okay. I was calling in about the name that your fans should call themselves. Your name doesn't really, it's not being kind. It's not really set up for that. Like, the Straits doesn't sound right. The SC crew just sounds like we're from South Carolina. Childos makes me think of chili dogs. And then I kind of get sick, but it also sounds like a cold dildo, which would be uncomfortable. I was kind of surprised that y'all asked though, because I thought Randy had been calling us by our name for a while now. Where I thought we were the Mangs. He's always like, "Hello, Gentle Mangs," and I'm like, "Yeah, that's me. I'm a Mang." I think it's a pretty good name because you have to really listen to the podcast to get it. And you can do a lot with it. You can be a wall mang or a were mang. Next week you're gonna watch Nightmare on Main Street, and I'm really looking forward to that. Anyway, that was what I was thinking. I'm gonna go home and go to bed now. Y'all have a good show. Bye.
Hello, gentlemen.
That was great. Yeah, I mean, Mangs works, I guess. That's not a bad
If you've never listened to the show, you have no idea what a Mang is.
Yeah, so Mang is a decent contender. We have been using it for a while, and that does apply. It makes sense. It's kind of an in
Mangs
joke.
and the Womangs.
The Mangs, the Were-Mangs.
I don't even know where that came from. I honestly don't think I know.
Japan, I think Japan Mang is that where first I'm headed to Japan Mang.
Yeah, I think so.
I think that's where.
That's goddamn. That's so weird.
Yeah.
All right.
You got your invisible Mangs. You got all the options.
The straight chilling Mangs.
Your Franken Mangs.
The gentle Mangs of horror.
Candy Mangs.
That's right. All right, yeah, solid contender. We got a couple more here. Next up is Todd. Let's hear what Todd has to say.
What up, straight chilling crew? 2 p.m. Todd, calling in at 5:54 p.m. so that timestamp Randy can, reconcile those times. Make sure I'm good. I wasn't going to call in this week. Been feeling a little down. Then that Friday the 13th box showed up and everything got better. Plus, I didn't want to let my boy 1 a.m. West down because Him and I are the bookends. We're the yin and the yang, the AM and the PM. We are all that are, or something like that. Got a question for everyone. Who calls their restaurant Beef O'Brady? Like, honestly. Who came up with that and why? It's my straight chilling question of the week. Also been thinking about this, what do we call ourselves? I've always just kind of said I'm part of the chilling crew since I joined. And fun fact, I'm actually my 1 year anniversary of finding you guys. And over the past year, it's been awesome listening to every single episode at least once, joining the Slack and making a lot of virtual friends there in this pandemic-plagued world that we now dwell in. So keep doing what you're doing. Slack, thanks for all you do, keeping us all entertained daily with topics. And Wes, if you need backup, trolling that guy that had a problem with the Friday the 13th box, I got your back, boy. Peace.
Todd always bringing the weird shit.
Bringing the heat.
Lots to unpack there. Yeah. I love that we're calling into question. We're finally taking the institution of Beef O'Brady's to task for their crimes against titling. Yeah, their own restaurant, whatever they please.
Who do you think you are, Mr. Beef?
Mr. O'Brady. Who names their son Beef anyway?
You're really full of shit, Beef.
I love that so Beef. Much. Also, consider the timestamps reconciled, whatever that means.
I love that that's a thing. You have to let us know what time you call in for some reason.
Reconcile it, Randy.
Reconcile,
it's reconciled, Randy. Buddy. Don't worry.
Fucking Beef O'Brady.
I'm gonna reconcile it.
I feel like Todd is just, he's driving, and whatever restaurant he passes is what he will then comment upon during his voicemail.
I hope he's not driving, because I have a theory that he is very stoned.
Perhaps that is the case. Who knows?
We'll see next week. Let's find out. And I'll also find out who calls their restaurant Beef O'Brady, because that's our question of the week, too.
Right. Yeah, why? Why?
Who would do that? Tell me who. Who would?
Who and why? Yeah, enjoy that Friday the 13th box set.
Loser!
That shit is sexy. Hey, man, back off.
Just kidding. Literally less than zero stake in that.
2 p.m. Todd's gonna beat your ass, man.
Oh, shit.
We got one more voicemail. This one is from Jim. See what he has to say.
Yo, what's up, gang? It's G Baby, G Walk. Can I get a hell yeet? Just throwing that out there for you guys. Left Soju hanging a couple episodes. I kept trying to say that. Shit was funny. I got you, Stang Mang. So for the naming, I'm partial to straight chillins, like villain. That one's fun. But Randy brought up one, straight childos. So I feel like I'd be remiss if we didn't mention or consider straight childers. How fun. All right. Later, gang. Keep chilling.
Thanks for the hell G baby.
The straight childers. So that's like 3 corruptions of a word on top of each other. That's like there's not even actual language left at that point.
Can we say straight? The straight childers?
Straight childers.
Wow.
If you say that to somebody, they're gonna be like, "What are you? Is this English? What are you talking about?
Are you having a stroke?
Are you speaking Vulcan? What's going on?"
I think.
Do you have a concussion?
The chillins, when I've heard people say straight chillins, I always think like children, straight children.
Yeah.
But I like that G Baby suggested spelling it like villains, like chillins, villains. That's pretty cool. I dig that. But if you say it, I feel like half the time people aren't going to know that's what you mean.
See, here's the problem. G baby, it's that around these parts, the most logical answer is never the one chosen. So I think that you're fighting a lost battle. It's probably going to be Childos or Childers in some capacity. Mangs also probably. If it make the less sense it makes, the more weight it's going to have. So
the Skrillin Mangs.
Yeah, there you go. That's what it is now.
Totally.
That's the most absurd.
People are going to think you just listen to Skrillex all the time. That's what they're.
I mean, you're talking to the podcast that slaps people's ass for joining our Patreon, so there's not a lot of sense to be had.
That makes a lot of sense. I remember.
I remember when that made sense.
Yes.
So yeah, thanks for the suggestion, G baby. We're gonna put them all into a big hat and then probably forget about it forever.
The chillin' mangs. I don't know. Yeah, we might have to continue this discussion. Maybe give it another week. See if anybody else has any other ideas. We got. I don't know that.
Put it to a vote on the Slack. Somebody take some initiative.
Yeah, we can do that. Slack.
Not me.
Somebody else do something.
Somebody else do things.
Ideas,
that
man.
I want you. Yeah, exactly.
An ideas mang. Yes, you are. But yeah, call in if you got any other suggestions. Let us know. Do you guys have any other prompts you want to throw out for this week?
Yes. Could somebody please send us a random string of words and numbers? That'd be great. Thank you.
Yes, that would be fantastic.
Somebody solved that riddle. Somebody solved that riddle for us.
Somebody said, it's written on the back of the Constitution, and then they're going to run off.
Yeah. Somebody really spend the time to figure out what that riddle means.
That's going to lead you to a cryptex in the Louvre Underground.
Is this a Dan Brown novel all of a sudden?
It is.
We need to get the intern on that.
We got to
intern solve this Zodiac riddle for us.
Decipher this nonsense, intern. Oh man,
I have faith. We got a good intern.
Yeah,
he did a hell of a job.
Pretty legit. That's going to do it for us this week at Straight Chilling. If you want to call in, leave us a voicemail, you can hit us up at 904-638-3231. We're going to be back next week. We're going to be talking about a new release. This was a Netflix original. It's a movie called Vampires vs. the Bronx. Slam your eyeballs into that. Get ready for next week's show. Until then, please rate, review, and subscribe to us on iTunes. You can follow us on Twitter at STR8_chilling, on Instagram at Straight Chilling Podcast. You can send us an email through our website, straightchillingpodcast.com. If you want to join in on the Slack channel Daily Conversations, let us know on one of those social media platforms, and I'll send you a link to join in on the Slack channel. Call and leave us a voicemail. Decipher that random message that was sent over to us. Childos, Mangs, Chillanes, vote. Let us know. Weigh in.
I don't know about Childos.
Probably not Childos. It's not great. Probably don't want that. So yeah, Vampires vs. the Bronx. Watch it. And until next week, as always, all you mother truckers, please keep chilling.
Game over.